Mayor Canos.
Here.
Mr. Ribeiro.
Here.
Mr. Ruse.
Here.
Mr. Zram.
Here.
Mr. Trainer.
Here.
Ms. Zamara. Mr. Zazzarino.
Here.
Notice of this meeting was provided to the Bernardsville News and Courier News, filed with the municipal clerk, and posted on the municipal bulletin board on December 4th, 2025, and supplemented on July 21st, 2026 to change the date from August 10th, 2026 to August 17th, 2026. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Welcome to the August 17th, 2026 meeting of the Bernardsville Borough Council. Members of the public will be allowed to speak during the open sessions and during formal public hearings on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, which will be monitored and enforced by the borough clerk. Failure of the governing body to provide a live broadcast of this meeting or technological problems encountered during the course of the meeting that affect remote viewing and/or participation will not invalidate this meeting or any action taken, including but not limited to the adoption of any ordinance, resolution, or motion. All right, moving on to presentations. Nancy, is Civic Plus here, or are we going to do the other thing first?
Is he there?
They
Yeah.
are here.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we want to do that now, or do you want to do the, what Tim is here for? Or,
What do you do there?
no? We'll do
No, we
Civic.
might as well do Civic.
Okay,
Plus
we'll
first.
do Civic Plus. Okay. Who's here?
Oh, it's Alex.
And just as a way of introducing this, we have been looking, actually Nancy has been doing, and Anthony, I don't even know how many interviews with different vendors who can provide for us a new website and a more interactive way to communicate with our residents, so that I know people have complained that our website isn't that transparent, so we have been going through a number of, I mean, it must have been at least a half a dozen, if not more.
There was a combination of website companies and permitting companies. So sometimes they kind of blended over. So there was, I can talk about after, after the presentation later, I'll give you a rundown of what we thought of each.
We were also looking for vendors that could make permitting easier for people to do online. So it's hard to find one group that could do everything,
Yeah.
but we tried. All right, Alex.
Thank you for the introduction, Mayor Canos, and thank you for the time. Happy to be speaking with you all this evening. I know Nancy and I have been working together for a while now, it seems like. I believe January is when we had our first conversation. So happy to be presenting with you all this evening. You'll also see my colleague Brian on the call as well. He's really a technical expert in all things Civic Plus. So please feel free to jump in and ask questions if I'm talking about something that you'd really like a little more clarity on. I'm going to go ahead and start. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. So really this is, appreciate the time. This is really a recommendation, not only for the website, but also just to modernize how residents find information online and how the borough communicates with its residents. Of course, that starts with the website, but this isn't just a generic kind of technology overhaul. It's really focused on as a response to the specific things that Nancy and Anthony and this council has raised through them. The website is the foundation, and things like See, Click, Fix and mass notifications are where we will spend a little bit of time this evening as well, because I know those are really important to the borough. A few things that I've heard throughout this process, primarily, residents, it's not that information is not there on the website, but it's that residents can't find what's already there. Things like agendas and minutes require multiple clicks, clicking through departments, then borough clerk, agenda items, meeting documents, and residents shouldn't necessarily have to know that path. So what happens is they end up calling the borough instead. Second, publishing is much harder than it should be. Anthony does most of the website updates today, and he's been working around things like formatting, spacing, layout issues, and sometimes source code just to post routine updates. And that really draws him away from other high priority responsibilities.
Hi, Alex. Sorry to interrupt. Can you make it full screen presentation? We actually the slide presentation.
Thank you for interrupting me. Actually, I was sharing the wrong screen.
Okay.
Leave it to the software guys to make that mistake. Appreciate that. Can you see it better now? Awesome. So like I said, publishing really is harder than it should be. Anthony's doing a lot of that manually and really running into challenges around formatting and spacing. And then residents ultimately want proof that they're not being kept in the dark. Something that Mayor Canos raised back months ago in one of our earlier conversations is public distrust directly. And I know that misinformation moves fast through the borough. There's a really active resident Facebook community, and that tends to kind of snowball even when the borough has already published the answer online. And so really the goal of this is to make Bernardsville easier to understand, easier to navigate and engage with, and not create extra work for staff. The foundation of that is the website. And so, yes, Bernardsville is going to receive a stunning, custom, modern design. But the primary goal is not a prettier website. It's really more of a front door that residents can actually use. And that includes things like predictive search, mobile first design, and navigation built around what residents are actually coming to your website to do, not necessarily how departments are organized internally. On the staff side, for somebody like Anthony, this is going to replace a lot of that manual workaround. So less wrestling with formatting and department staff. They already do some of their content updates right now, but they're going to get stuck less, and that's going to reduce reliance on Anthony and ultimately on the vendor. Part of this is also allowing the police department to keep its own distinct look and feel as its own subsite within the same ecosystem. So it doesn't get folded into the general borough site, but they kind of come along with that transition. C-Click Fix is, it's what we call our 311 request solution. And this is, from what I've heard, a very highly requested capability from both council and from staff. And so this is worth walking through a little bit. Ultimately, just, in essence, a resident sees something like a pothole or some storm damage, they can take a photo, drop a pin, submit it from their phone or from the website. And then on the routing side, there's some AI functionality to suggest the category straight from the photo. And those requests are going to get assigned automatically to the right department and prioritized appropriately. So staff get one place to track status, escalate any requests, and catch duplicates before they turn into 5 separate phone calls about the same pothole. I'm going to show you really briefly what that looks like on Summit, New Jersey. This is their, C-Click Fix portal on their Civic Plus website. So if I wanted to go ahead and report something like a pothole, could type that right in. It's going to have an AI suggested response for the category. So pothole is part of roads. That's how they have it set up. I could go ahead and, drag this over. Maybe I have a pothole right in front of my house on Maple Street. Confirm that location. If I'm right there and on my mobile phone, I could go ahead and snap a picture and add it to this request. But maybe I passed by it earlier and I'm sitting at my house, right after dinner, and I don't have a photo, could go ahead and click no photo. Um, it's going to ask a brief description of the request, and you can set up these follow-up questions and categories, so it's custom to the borough. This is all configurable. What is it? A pothole, and then a little bit more information. This is, a phone number and some contact information so the borough knows who to follow up with. I'm going to confirm those details. And then at this point, I'm not actually going to submit this request because it's just to show you all, but this is where you would decide, do I want to submit as a guest, submit as myself, or hide my identity and just kind of have it be anonymous. And this is, again, the kind of thing that's customizable to the borough. You all get to decide how much you want to show the public and how much, certain categories, certain things like roads that you may not have oversight over, those are going to be blocked so that the resident automatically knows that that's not your area. And so ultimately, this is going to increase transparency and visibility. A lot of Department of Public Works, they do a lot of great work behind the scenes, and we want to make sure that you all have the visibility into what they're doing so that, you can kind of provide those annual reports about what's going on and how many potholes are being fixed and that sort of thing. All right. Going into notifications. This is today, notifications basically mean smart 911, and that's really built around emergencies, not necessarily routine updates. And so what happens with using emergency alerts for everything is ultimately you're training residents to ignore them. This way, residents are going to be able to sign up for exactly the notifications that they care about and what's relevant to them. So the mass notification system is going to let the borough target specific streets or specific areas, specific groups. So, for example, I could notify downtown business owners when DPW is about to clear snow from their block instead of blasting the entire town. You could get word out about the train station parking impacts today. That takes manual steps, and it's almost gotten missed before. So I know one of the things that Nancy mentioned is that the borough gets complaints like, my street was closed and I didn't know anything about it. And that's really the exact problem that we're shooting to address with this. So it's about getting the right message out for the right residents through the right channels. And then a little bit about accessibility. That's been, that's really a primary focus of this project of Civic Plus. And when we're thinking about serving local residents, we want to make sure that all the information that you put out there is accessible to every resident, regardless of their individual situation. And so under Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, all state and local government websites and PDFs need to meet WCAG 2.1 AA standards. Bernardsville, as a municipality under 50,000 residents, has until April 26th of 2028. That date has already moved once, and getting ahead of it and addressing it right now as part of this project avoids a scramble later on. That comes as kind of two different parts. So AudioEye is going to continuously monitor and remediate the website itself. So accessibility is much more than a once a year scan, that the borough has to remember to run. It's going to be monitoring your site 24/7 and pushing out fixes so that you don't have to worry about it. Doc Access does essentially the same thing with roughly 400 PDFs that are already on the site today, and then anything new that your team posts. So things like agendas, minutes, meeting packets, maps, all of that is going to have an accessible version without asking your staff to go in and manually remediate each document. I'm going to show you really briefly a little bit about what that looks like on one of your documents. So this is a report that I ran, through Doc Access. If I go here, this is a recreation plan update, from the borough. There's a few issues, 9 accessibility issues that would make it difficult for residents with reading disabilities or visual impairments to access this document. With Doc Access, I can go ahead and turn on this accessible viewer, and it's going to convert all that PDF into an accessible HTML script. I'll show you what it looks like on, this redevelopment plan. So as you could imagine, some of these images, when we talk about alt text and how to identify these images for someone that's trying to analyze this or digest this with a screen reader, that would be pretty difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on that accessible transcript. Now we have the alt text. We have all the description of what's going on in that document. And now, because it's now HTML script, we can do much more than just just make it accessible. We can now translate this using Google Translate into over 250 languages. So if you have a very high Spanish speaking community, we can go ahead and take this document, turn it into Spanish, translate it into Spanish. We could even do, Korean or German, any language there through Google Translate. And all of this happens while still preserving the original document. I'm going to go back to English and show you one more here with this tax map from 1970. So this, as you could imagine, probably going to give a screen reader a little bit of a hard time. Go ahead and turn on that accessible transcript. And now, anyone with visual impairment knows exactly what's happening inside of that document. Third part of this, built into the website content management system, there's some AI functionality, and that's going to help your staff draft and simplify content before it publishes. So there's a couple checkpoints for accessibility, and then Audio Eye and Doc Access are those resident-facing layers that are going to make sure that everything you all put out there is accessible. A little bit about Civic Plus as a company. We do want to partner with you in the long term. We see ourselves as much more than a website vendor. There's a lot of room for growth. We were founded 25 years ago as a website company and have grown to offer a variety of different solutions for local government. So we do have over 13,000 customers throughout the country. We have about 280 customers in New Jersey alone. This project right now addresses communications and engagement, public works and requests, and then accessibility and compliance. But Nancy and I have already identified a couple of future growth opportunities for you all as you continue to innovate and modernize as the borough continues to grow and think about streamlining different processes. One of those is permitting, community development, recreation, and then clerks and records. Nothing about tonight commits you all to any of that, but we do want to earn your business year over year and show you that we're positioned to be a partner with you in the long term. Investment for the project. So really briefly, the website itself is about $10,946. It's very comparable to what the borough is already paying for website hosting and the CMS. So that's not really a net new spend. The net new investment is going to be for the additional solutions that you're getting. See-Click Fix, mass notifications, Audio Eye, and Doc Access. So the year one total, including implementation and training, is $52,901.92. And that does include the one-time implementation and migration costs. So we're going to hand migrate all of your content over into the new website, build the custom design from scratch. So you're going to have a design that represents what Bernardsville is about. There's content consulting. There's a large implementation team. It's a very hands-on experience from Civic Plus. Year two drops to about $31,726.53, and that's because those implementation costs drop off. And then part of that year one cost is Nancy has negotiated a $20,286.56 as a discount. And the reason for that discount is bundling these solutions together, kind of putting together a modernization and communications project all in one go, and also committing to a February 1 go live date for the website. That date wasn't just made up. That date is when the contract with the current website vendor expires. And so we have built in an expedited implementation path. Right now, that timeline looks like, approval tonight, and then from there, an agreement executed within a few days. A project manager would be assigned by August 25th, ideally by the end of the week, and implementation we would begin immediately. Again, the reason for that is because we need to have a new website live before February 1st to avoid any gaps in having, a website for the borough. Legal review is already complete and there were no blockers there. And so this really gets Bernardsville a modern foundation today, with a little bit of room to add capabilities over time and not addressing everything all at once.
Alex, one question for you.
Sure.
What could we expect for cost years 3, 4, 5? If we find a good system, we want to stick with it. Could you give us an idea of what we might be looking at after year 2?
Sure. The price is a 5% uplift every year. That's pretty standard in the SaaS space, but that's why you see a slight increase in the annual subscription cost in these lines. There's a 5% uplift annually.
From the year 2? From the year 2 total?
Yep.
Just to clarify. Thank you.
Yep.
I just have one thing to say. It's Bernardsville, okay?
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
I'm from North Carolina. I appreciate that clarification. Thank you.
That's all right. Siri gets it wrong too, so it's not your fault.
Yeah, there's a lot of those names that's not the worst mess up that I've had. So thank you.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey,
Go ahead.
Alex and Brian, it's good to see you again. I think we spoke in January. Hard to believe it's been that long. So appreciate you all taking the time and working with us through this very important journey. It might be a question for Brian, because I know he was really good on this when we talked back in January. Just some of the future capabilities you all are thinking about, especially to get us ready for more automation, AI. I think you had a lot in the pipeline there that maybe Brian would want to touch on the features of the platform upcoming.
Yeah, happy to do that, and pleasure to be back with you. We have introduced a lot of AI functionality into our product line this year. Alex touched on one of those exciting items that's built in to the website. There's no additional cost for that, and that's the AI assisted editing. So that just comes built in. As you saw him enter pothole in the C-Click Fix interface, it understood that might relate to a different road project category. That was done with AI. So those are a few places. And then we've got other opportunities that you could grow into. At the bottom of this slide, it talks about a resident-facing chatbot. So we have built our own artificial intelligence chatbot that's been launched, and it's been very well received by our customers. So those are some of the exciting things. There are other things in there related to a content advisor. That's something you could grow into that helps you with what's called search engine optimization and also answer engine optimization. If you think about it, think about the last Google search you did. Up in the top, it says AI results, and it gives a brief summary from AI on the Google search page. We want to make sure that your content is reflected accurately in a platform like Google or Bing, where those searches are done and AI is responding. We have found that customers need a little guidance as to how to tune their content so that it's populating those boxes with the most authoritative and quality content. One of the downsides of that is people see those AI answers and they may never come to the website. They may just assume that answer is factual, right? We want to help our customers get the factual information surfaced in those queries.
Any other questions from council?
When it comes to the pricing there, how many years out would we be able to kind of negotiate the pricing there and to make sure that we have a, kind of sustainable?
Yeah,
price?
great question. This right now, it's a 2-year contract. After that, it would renew annually, and you would have a dedicated account manager. The uplift is a standard 5%, but that's negotiable with the account manager.
Yeah, we're limited by the local public contracts laws to the duration of contracts.
Right. Understood. Yeah, we generally do annual contracts. Part of that, again, we want to earn your business every year. And that's, generally what we found to be successful.
Do you want me to? Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys for the presentation. Like Alex said, we've been working on this since January, and the mayor and councilman were on, Councilman Zram were on the first call, I guess, that we had with Civic Plus. And then we spent a lot of time looking looking for other vendors because, we weren't going to just go with the first one that we saw as impressive, as impressed as we were. So we started out by looking at our current vendor to see if they could, do anything to improve our site. We weren't really impressed with the first improvements that they made. They did some test improvements. We weren't super impressed, but we were willing to try and get a quote and try as we might. That, we did want to go with somebody who focused on municipalities. And I think Alex had mentioned, I believe they only handle government, so they do over 250 municipal and county websites in New Jersey, which is, a majority. But we looked at others. We looked at other websites from, surrounding towns, from, just randomly picking other towns. And the biggest name that we saw was Civic Plus, as you can imagine. Others were Alpha Dog, Granicus, Revised. As we had mentioned, or as the mayor mentioned earlier, we're also looking to upgrade our permitting for construction and zoning code enforcement. A lot of companies do both. So we did not consider Alpha Dog because they used to, before the current provider, you had them here and had a bad experience apparently. And we did look at another town that just recently switched to Alpha Dog. We looked at their website. We weren't real impressed with that either. So we didn't consider them. We did meet with Granicus and Revise. Granicus' focus was on permitting. And we never did receive a proposal for the website overhaul from them. We did receive one from Revise, and while they were less expensive, we thought that our key focus was going to be the ease for residents to find information. Enter information, like was mentioned earlier, ADA compliance, and company responsiveness. And we thought that Civic Plus did a better job. I think that they have an edge in helping residents find the information they're looking for. I think that the borough has, over the years, been very thrifty and tried to find the best bargain possible. And I feel like it's time that we, spend a little bit more money, not for just spending's sake, but to get a better product that will help everyone. The website is very compatible, like on your phone, it's made that way. The C-Click Fix, I actually downloaded it from the App Store. So you could, I don't recommend using it while you're driving, but if you're in your car, you could, and you see a tree or something, you could take a photo of it in your car. Overall, we did, Anthony, thank you for your help. We did spend a lot of time, and thank you guys for the time that you spent as well. We spent a lot of time looking at this and the permitting. We don't have a permitting recommendation yet, and I don't know if we'll be able to have it by the deadline. As was mentioned, our current contract is over January 31st. So, we had to make a decision because now is like crunch time. This is the minimal amount of time that we could do the switch. So for all of those reasons, Civic Plus is our recommendation.
Nancy, could we stay with the permitting we have now, just to carry it over?
We can.
And not do the website with them, just keep that one functionality?
We can. We have a 90-day notification that we have to let them know that we're leaving. So, when you decide, hopefully tonight, I will let them know that we'd be leaving for the website. And at the moment, staying for the permitting, we saw some wonderful permitting programs. Some of them were outrageously expensive. There's one more that we need to look at, and it's actually the company that was bought by SDL. And so I imagine the implementation would be easier and faster, and we wouldn't have that time constraint. I think they have a demonstration next week. And that is something you have to sit through all these demonstrations and get like 10 people, 10 employees on. It's a lot of time, put into these things. So that's probably the last one. And if that one doesn't work out, then we're just going to stay with SDL. Yeah. I mean, they might make us upgrade because they were bought by Gov. Was it? No, it wasn't GovSites. GovPilot.
Is it GovPilot?
It's GovPilot. Yeah. Yeah. There's so many Govs. But anyway, so for now, we're just dealing with the website.
I just want to commend Nancy for all the work that went into this. It's a lot of vendors, a lot of demos to sit through, and there is no one size fits everything we need solution. So it's what's the round peg that best fits in the square hole. I think for everyone's benefit, why we're spending this time on a website and tech, what Nancy said last, in order to control our costs long-term as a borough, we have to make investments in technology now that will allow us to do more with the same amount of people. Our town obviously grows a little bit each year. Our costs grow a good amount. A good big chunk of our cost is labor. So the best way to get more with the same amount of people in today's age is to automate and go to as much technology as we can. As I think you heard Brian and Alex say, they're very much forward-leaning. We're among the ones that were the most forward-leaning among the vendors we looked at, so therefore are capable of providing that service of getting more for a similar amount of money. So this is really an investment in eventually reducing the amount of spend we'll have to commit as a borough longer term, but you have to make investments now in order to recoup that benefit, like any company or any organization would longer term. So that's how I got interested in it, is how can we save money as a borough long term? And the last point I'd make, beyond them being leading edge on tech and on and the finance piece, is just the convenience of info. It's been discussed regularly, I think, on our social media, how hard it is to find information on our website. Obviously, with both the AI tools, sorting, making Anthony's job, everyone's job easier, that'll allow everyone who's attending here, who's not attending here, to find more info, and therefore more info. We're operating from the same set of facts, and we can have debate over, what our opinion is on those facts, and not what the facts themselves are. So, really want to commend Nancy and the team for doing this.
Thank you. And if I could just say one more thing about the financial part. We are proposing taking the implementation costs from the capital budget that you had approved a couple of years ago to make building improvements, to make things better here. So we are proposing that we take the implementation costs out of there. I believe that the annual costs, like Alex said, the website itself is very comparable to what we pay now. Were we to get those improvements for the like, see, click, fix, or whatever other vendors want to call it, and the mass notifications, they would cost similar elsewhere. So if we were going with somebody else, we'd probably be paying something, even with our own vendor. If we asked for additions, you obviously have to pay more. And I don't believe, and Alex maybe can correct me, well, no, I'm positive, we would pay the implementation when you were complete, but then we wouldn't start the annual cost until February, correct? Maybe
Right now, the way this is, sorry. Right now, the way this is set up is this is the year one cost. That's the 100% invoiced up front. But Nancy, if we need to, do something else, I'm happy to have that conversation. But we have to, implementation starts as soon as you all, sign up. And so that does include, the cost of the website in the background while we're building it and getting it set up. So it would renew if you were to sign a contract, on the 19th, for example, we would renew the contract at that date, but year one would be for August 19th through August 18th of next year.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this. I think at some point we need to get on a calendar year to make our budgeting easier. Our CFO would appreciate that. We can talk about the rest, but I want to let the council know that the implementation would be coming from the capital.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both, Alex and Brian, for being here tonight. Yeah. Do we need to?
Well, I don't know if are you prepared to make a decision?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I mean, one just comment on it. I want to particularly recognize that it's a real advantage to make it resident centric and task oriented by resident rather than having people scroll and look for various departments. I find that, even confusing for someone in government. And so I think that's just a great model to move to. I think residents will appreciate that.
Okay, can we add a resolution at the end? Yes. Would that be the best way to do that? Okay, good.
I just wanted to say, I think a modernization of the website interface would be horrific for residents for a lot of different areas. And I think anything that can make the jobs of our administrators slightly easier, I think it's going to be a good investment, like Charlie said. And thank you for that, Charlie, for your work on that, Nancy. Thank you. There.
All right, moving on. I have a proclamation for Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas ovarian cancer is the 5th leading cause of cancer-related death among women in the United States, and the American Cancer Society estimates that in 2026, approximately 21,010 women will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and 12,450 will die from the disease nationwide, including an estimated 650 new cases and 340 deaths in New Jersey. And whereas a woman's lifetime risk of being diagnosed with ovarian cancer is approximately 1 in 91, and her lifetime risk of dying from the disease is approximately 1 in 143. And whereas due to vague, nonspecific symptoms in the absence of a reliable early detection test, the majority of women are diagnosed at stage 3 or later, when the cancer has already spread beyond the ovaries. And whereas, although the 5-year survival rate for stage 1 ovarian cancer exceeds 90%, only 15% of cases are diagnosed at this early stage. For those diagnosed in later stages, the 5-year survival rate drops below 30%. And whereas, while screening tools such as mammograms and pap tests exist for breast and cervical cancers, no equivalent screening test exists for ovarian cancer, making awareness of symptoms and risk factors essential for early intervention. And whereas increased public education about ovarian cancer can help save lives by promoting earlier diagnosis, supporting access to gynecological oncology care, and encouraging research funding for better detection and treatment options. And whereas during the month of September, the Borough of Bernardsville joins survivors, families, healthcare professionals, advocacy organizations, and all those committed to raising awareness, remembering lives lost, and offering hope for a future with better outcomes, and ultimately a cure. Now, therefore, I, Mary Jane Canoes, do hereby proclaim September 2026 as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month in the Borough of Bernardsville, New Jersey, and encourage all residents to participate in awareness activities, wear teal and support, and engage in conversations that help save lives and support the thousands of families affected by this devastating disease. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the Borough of Bernardsville to be affixed this 17th day of August 2026. And September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, so you'll probably see teal ribbons around town. I think we've approved them to do that for the month. All right, and now I get to read the next one. I have another proclamation. We have another 100-year resident, 100-year-old. The last one was Bob Walsh. This is Jacqueline Melito DeMarco. Whereas Jacqueline Melito DeMarco will celebrate the remarkable milestone of her 100th birthday on September 8th, 2026, marking a century filled with love, family, dedication, and cherished memories. And whereas Jacqueline was one of 9 children, growing up in a large family and learning from an early age the importance of family, hard work, and caring for others. And whereas Jacqueline met her that continued for more than six decades until Robert's passing in 2023. And whereas Jacqueline and Robert made their home in Bernardsville in 1962, where they raised their family and built a life filled with family, friendship, and community. And whereas Jacqueline and Robert were the proud parents of 2 children, Lisa D'Angelillo and Robert DeMarco, and Jacqueline's family continues to be a source of great pride, love, and joy in her life. Whereas while raising her children, Jacqueline worked as the cafeteria cashier at Bernardsville's Bedwell School, becoming a familiar and welcoming presence to generations of local students and families. And whereas Jacqueline is an avid knitter, enjoying a craft that reflects her creativity, patience, and generous spirit. 6 decades and becoming a cherished member of the community. And whereas throughout her remarkable life, Jacqueline has experienced the joys and challenges of family life, celebrated milestones, created lasting memories, and remained surrounded by the love of her family and community. And whereas reaching the age of 100 is an extraordinary milestone representing a century of experiences, accomplishments, relationships, and memories that deserve to be celebrated and honored. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Borough of Bernardsville proudly honors Jacqueline Melito DeMarco on the occasion of her 100th birthday, celebrates her remarkable life and contributions to the community, and extends its heartfelt congratulations and best wishes to Jacqueline and her family on as a special day honoring Jacqueline Melito DeMarco, and that the residents of Bernardsville join her family and friends in celebrating 100 wonderful years of a life well lived. Okay. And I have also am getting a proclamation from our senators and assembly people, so I will present those to her. I think the family's having a little lunch on her birthday, surprising her, which I thought was, you don't surprise a 100-year-old person, but so I will stop by and give those to her. It's great. This is June 15th, June 22nd, July 13th. Okay. We now have the first open section for the meeting that the agenda. So you don't have the exit anymore. So step the process.
Hi, everybody. Is that, I don't know. Well, it's going to be there. Okay. I am Mary Fran Daly. I'm your librarian, your library director at 1 Anderson Hill Road. And I thank you for your service to Bernardsville. I know it's often thankless work, that I know all of you a little bit. And I believe you to be intelligent and caring and decent, and that's why you show up for your community. But I hope you can help me understand about the library parking lot and the redevelopment plan. The library will be left with 43 spots, which is inadequate if the land in the back lot is redeveloped. I understand the affordable housing obligations. I don't have any comment on the construction. I welcome the new residents. This town will thrive, the library will thrive with all these new families in town. They'll be able to walk to the library. But who will not be able to come to the library are your seniors. They not only need parking spots, but they need access to the library and barrier-free without technology. Why? Because of all of the bad information, bad conclusions from the study. Some people are saying that it didn't have professional neutrality. I would agree with that it didn't have fidelity to this task of assessing whether or not this was a good idea to redevelop this part of the lot, not the whole block, just this parking lot, that it's obsolete, that it's not used. One picture on Good Friday showing one car does not make that case. In 2025, the library had 94,000 visitors in a 17,000 square foot library. In 2026, we're going to crest 100,000 visitors to the library. Recently, we've had 800 plus visitors for Makers Week events, for Green Fair, for the mini golf event, for after the day after the power outage, after 4th of July. We had more than 800 people come to the library. One of those days is also Election Day. Sometimes we have 500 plus visitors for no reason that we can understand. Today, I was leaving the library at 1 o'clock. Mahjong was in full swing. The story time people had probably gotten home. There were 9 cars in those spots that are at risk in this redevelopment plan. And at the library, we have not just free information, we have good information. Some of that information's in books, some of it's accessible through the web and through our databases, but a lot of it is in the experts who work for the library. And we help find good information, we detect red flags and bad information, and there's been no conversation with my staff about this. They know how busy we are, they know we need those spots, and the planners in the study took one picture on Good Friday. There was another study that was done about a year beforehand, I think, that was done when the library wasn't open. We know those spots are in use all of the time. So if there's no place else for this housing, like I know there's other places for this housing, and I know there's this controversy that people don't want moderate income people like I grew up or low income people like I grew up in their backyard. I have, that is their loss. That's fine. The only place for parking for the library is next to the library. The only place for parking downtown is next to downtown.
Okay. Thank you, Fran. And I get your concern. I think there was a misunderstanding on the way that Jessica drew the map, because it's an overlay of the whole area. We are not taking away those parking spots. It just was covered because the other side, that grassy area, that's also included in the whole area. But the parking is not going away. If anything, we are asking the developer to add parking and to make that area into a park for library patrons and people downtown. So I think it was the way that she had the kind of that brush over the whole area that made it look like we were wiping that out. We are not. And, I'm sorry for the. Will remain as well. Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry that got.
I've heard the access will remain. I've heard that the spots are at risk, and that's why the lots.
No, they are not. If anything, we are expecting more parking.
Okay.
Because we understand your need, and I respect that, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I understand your concern, and I'm sorry that that got confused.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ron.
Right, based on her response, but Robert Baker, 61 Alcott, I was going to talk about the parking too. And the other issue is, I'm glad you agree that that was wrong, but this report, as a taxpayer paying for her quality or lack of quality of work on her judgment, and we had 18 or 19 people there telling her, she's wrong, she's wrong, she's wrong, she's wrong. She would not admit to that, and she would not admit to redo her study. As a professional engineer, I would have said, okay, I will go do more study on this. But reading this, this parking lot was terrible, you don't need the entrance. It was just like, we're just in disbelief that we're spending money to pay her to say that. And the other thing people were upset with is the zoning, not the zoning, the inspection of the apartments, all right? The landlord, obviously from these pictures, the impression we got is who's managing these buildings. And then other people were very upset that pictures of people's apartments were in here, bedrooms, stuff like that. And I just thought it was inappropriate, along with many other people in this room in the last time at the planning board. And it was, it's not the kind of report I expect. I would have you all look at it if you haven't, and it's not good. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Jeff Hammond, 18 Flintlock Court. I'm not sure if this was actually on the agenda. I had a quick question about how the website revision would work. I think they might have dropped off, but for the visually impaired, the HTML print still looks a little small. Would the user be able to increase the font so that it makes it easier? Is there that capability? Sorry?
Sorry. Yeah, so for the
Also, the audio there too.
yeah, I think
Okay,
it built in, it reads what's on screen as well.
Okay, great. I just want to know if the user could accentuate what that print was. Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of the notification, the targeted notification, how does that get out though? Is that going out by email, text messaging, or what's the mechanism that it actually gets
You get to
out?
select that.
Sorry?
So when you sign on, you get to pick how you want to be notified. Do you want a phone call? Would you rather have a text? Would you rather have an email? And which categories you want to be notified in.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Tom Slocum, 28 Pill Hill Road. I had just a very quick, I guess could have been a question to the Civic Plus guys, but it's kind of a request or suggestion. I think a great function would be meeting documents hyperlinked to agendas. For example, the planning board's having an agenda about a redevelopment study. You pull up the agenda, if you could hyperlink, I know that would be probably a very big ask to ask Anthony and Denise to do that. It's a lot of clicks, but if they have AI, maybe it can be done very quickly, and I think it would be a fantastic feature for the residents. Just a thought. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So,
Dan Lincoln, 28 Olcott Avenue. I'm here on behalf of HPAC. When I was walking in, Rich asked me what the status of the Somerset Hills map, that 1926 map, and the two aerial views I have in my office are. So I just want to give you a little update on that. I know Nancy and I are going to be talking about that. So I have spoken to the bank officially that you guys are interested, so they are very happy about that. And Jerry Jo Cranmer on the HPAC committee has indicated that she'd like to pay to have the frame on the large map repainted because it's flaking off right now. I don't know if you guys would be interested in having the frames on the two that I have painted black, but that's an option. Right now, they're kind of a weird yellow color. And just so you know, the aerial views are about 1960. That's my best guess because I'm looking at the cars figuring they're like 4 or 5 years old. And there's one or two that are kind of flatter without the big fins. So I'm thinking it's about that time. If you're interested, at some point, I can tell you a little bit about the history. They came from the Kleindens and the realtors, the Booth agency. So Mr. Booth had them. And they were stored in a basement in Basking Ridge till about 18 years ago. And they descended on me. The reason the bank has that large map is they purchased it when it was Millington Savings Bank to help support the Alcott Avenue Historic District. And but when they became Kearney, it didn't really make sense to them because Millington's, all of their banks were on that map, all their locations. And Kearney, of course, is much larger. So they, one person told me that they'd thrown it away and I kind of freaked out a little bit, but found out it was just stored upstairs and got pictures and all that stuff. So I will contact Jerry Jo and say, let's arrange a pickup. And she has some people, she says, who will fix it up. And when it comes time to bring them here, I hope we'd have some sort of photo celebration thing. And I'd like to invite Tina from the Kearney Bank, who's mostly responsible for this happening. And she could be there for a photo op too, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
And as you can tell,
Right.
we have wall
Good.
space.
Yeah, no,
We're gonna.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy.
I'm sorry, that's me pointing at myself. So,
Have,
yeah, no, I'm figuring that I'd come in and actually talk about rearranging everything.
Yeah.
For example, I have a lot of portraits in my house. That is actually facing the wrong way. He's supposed to face into the room. So I would suggest he go there and stare at you all.
Oh, no.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Bob Graham, 84-3 Dryden Road. I have some important topics to cover with the borough communities. First, I would like to remind the council that they need to consider seeking state federal grants for the funding of an elevator from the train station to Boylan Terrace. This becomes more important as the residential density doubles due to borough housing initiatives. An elevator is functionally far superior, safer, and less expensive when compared with the defunct ramp walk project. This is an important element of fulfilling the vision of a transit village. Second, and most importantly, as chairman of the planning board, I am strongly urging the council to establish committees to optimize the costs, the design, and operability of the planned AH9 Claris Church Street and AH10 Quarry Bernards Avenue projects. These highly collaborative committee proceedings need to be accomplished prior continue to laboriously correct the massively deficient design and operability of these fait accompli housing projects when they come before the planning board. The council also needs to broaden participation for creativity and experience in hopes of proactively avoiding costly surprises in construction and legal fees. As we all know, the current processes for these projects are currently failing. Third, please be aware that the council is at least morally obligated to adhere to the intent of the downtown zones and ensure that retail spaces are provided on the first floor of projects facing US 202. Any redevelopment plan must retain the reasonable zoning requirement for retail space to encourage walkability and viability. Fourth, in order to conserve funds and expedite delivery, it is vital that each and every project for enhancing recreation embrace the principle of acquiring mobile or modular components rather than costly permanent construction. For instance, any capital construction of restrooms needs to have full cost benefit analyses versus the acquisition of mobile modular components. I'll be back.
Hello, everyone. Mark Sharon, 29 Brookside Ave. I didn't know I only had 3 minutes, and it's a fairly complex topic, but on the road in front, at the frontage of 29 Brookside and I believe it's 30, the Clark's house, there is a private bridge that was never dedicated to the township. When each of us purchased our homes, it was not disclosed the title that it's a private road. And I can't speak for the Clarks, but I know for myself, I did ask the question, and a rep was never made. So there was no credit on my settlement sheet. I had no idea that the road was private until 3 years later, when it started to decay, and we reached out to see if it could be repaired. At that time, the township said that it was our issue. We have to bring the bridge to code, and then we can dedicate the road to the township. So I sat on it, admittedly, because I always expected to live here forever, because I never imagined I would live in such a great community. And my family loves it, my kids love it. But recently my company was purchased, and I think there is some probability that I need to sell the house. I'm a CPA by trade. I know of this issue. Ethically, I must disclose the issue to the next buyer of the home if I could even sell it. And I'm going to have to unfairly take a credit for, I don't know what it's going to cost, $1 million to repair this bridge, bring it to code, and ultimately dedicate it to the township. So at that point in time, I reached out to Public Works, and I, just trying to come up with an idea, said, hey, is there a watershed grant or an infrastructure grant that the township could help secure, since you have the resources and the contacts to end this 35-plus year issue and not have this burden go forward, well, not have the burden on the Clarks or myself, and potentially the subsequent owners, and we can settle this and be done with it and dedicate the road. And so I'm open to ideas. I want to partner with everyone here. I want to, get this issue resolved for the future. And I have a catalyst to do so, which could be imminent. And that's all. So thank you. I appreciate you considering it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
We'll discuss it. Okay. We are going to discuss it, Mark, as a council. We are going to discuss it as a council. Yeah. Yep. Keep you posted.
Hi, everybody. Carrie Hazelton,
Hi,
397 Minebrook Road. I just want to build on something that Chairman Graham said about, I think he was talking about the pavilions to some extent, and whether we go modular, as he suggests, or some other building. I'm not sure where that stands, but I am on rec. And I did note in the last iteration of the bathroom situation that we were going to be having 3 separate stalls, men, women, and family. I would propose that all of them be unisex. I did talk about this at rec at the last meeting. When you have a single stall, there's no reason to have it be men, women, and family, because everybody can go into each one. Otherwise, we could end up at Dunkin' Donuts. If you have men and women, you end up with women that are standing there with an empty men's room. We don't want to do that. Some of the men on rec were like, well, I won't have to wait, so I really kind of like this. I'm like, no, I think we should just have, everything should be for everybody. And I think that when you move forward, that would be the best way. That's the way they've got it down at the bike trail on South Street in Morristown, which is incredibly heavily used with the playground there and the bike trail. Everybody can go everywhere. I think there are changing tables in each of them. They're stainless steel. They look extremely easy to clean. And so look into those options. But I think that we should have everybody able to go into the bathroom so we don't end up with lines or difficulties.
Yeah, no, good point. Thank you, Carrie. Oh, there's people online? I can't see who it
We
is.
have David S. Dean. I'll ask him to unmute.
David, are you there?
Hey, how you doing? I'm here.
Can you put your camera on?
I'm trying to. Doesn't seem to be working. It says that the host has disabled it.
Oh, you did.
That's all right. I'm not going to hold it against you.
There you
Hey,
are.
how you doing? David Dean, 189 North Finley Avenue. Just touching base tonight on a specific topic regarding the card readers that are installed in town. I wanted to kind of take us back to a time when we had a ring of car theft. We had like organized crime groups lifting cars in town. I think we lost 4 in 2024. I kind of took a personal interest when the neighbor lost 2 vehicles through the summer and the winter. At any rate, it all boiled down to some time down there trying to wrap our heads around how we can fix that problem. That's where the card readers came in. And a bird told me today that potentially we would have some topics in town on those card readers. I wanted to take a moment to reinforce the great work the police have been doing. And to my understanding, those card readers, as intrusive as they may be on privacy, they do alert the town immediately when a stolen vehicle comes into town. And the statistics, to my knowledge, are that a stolen vehicle is often used to steal a vehicle. I also heard, and this can either be confirmed or denied, but that on Mullins last year, we had one in the act was certainly attributed to those card readers. So as a concerned citizen trying to make sure that these issues don't get big again, I just want to reinforce that those things took place for a reason. And in the hands of the BPD, to my knowledge, they're working great. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. This might be a good
Thanks, Dave.
segue to Dan.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Maybe because I know we had some questions about the
Thank you for having me.
license.
I was asked to come tonight to talk a little bit about Flock. That's what that resident was speaking about. He is accurate. We implemented Flock cameras in 2024. During that time, 10 years, we did a study. 10 years prior to 2024, we were averaging between 5 and 6 stolen cars a year. It was increasingly getting worse. And at that time in 2024, we actually had 2 residents whose homes were broken into to inquire high-end motor vehicle keys. Since that time, we've implemented Flock with the approval of the council, and we've had an average of less than 1 car per year. We've utilized Flock to find missing persons, endangered individuals, and notify us of stolen cars that come into the borough. I think a lot of the information that's out there right now has to do with the misuse of Flock, and I'll touch a little bit about that. Obviously, databases are given to the police when we take on the job. And a lot of the information that's out there is that it's about misuse. I can assure you we have things in place that prevent that. We report to the Attorney General's office once a year. We do an audit and report all of our investigations when we utilize Flock. For those of you who don't know what Flock is, it's a fixed mounted camera that we have throughout town that alerts our officers in real time. If a car was implemented by another agency in the state of New Jersey, it alerts our desk, tells us whether there's a stolen vehicle in town. And on many occasions, it's told us that there's a stolen vehicle, where the stolen vehicle is, and we can put resources in that area in an attempt to prevent another vehicle getting stolen or arrest those individuals. It's been a fantastic resource that we've utilized, and any resource that is properly used, which I feel that everyone here in the borough is using, our officers, is a great resource that keeps our community safe. So we're fully in support of the proper use of Flock.
Thank you. Captain, yeah, did you have something?
Captain, excellent presentation. Thanks for the stat there on 5 to 6 to 1. 2 kind of follow-up questions. One, maybe you can comment first on kind of the correlation. It's not just auto theft, but the fact that a stolen vehicle is often correlated with even more serious crimes, and maybe discuss without getting into details some of the, maybe recent episodes where ALPRs or Flock have been helpful. And then second, if you could comment on audit procedures to get to the data point, how the usage of the system, so I think that's where a lot of the concerns come from. Someone's using it to look up something that they shouldn't, and how the access to that system is monitored and ensure that it's appropriate.
I'll start with that. Through the NJ Snap, we audit our system to as per the New Jersey Attorney General, once a year. We send them a report of all the investigations that we do as the Bernardsville Police Department and what they're actually utilized. As it's been implemented, it has gotten progressively better, I would say. In order for us to utilize the system and what we do to even make that system better, I would say, is that we limit who can do searches within our department. Everyday officers out on the road don't have access to search the system. The only individuals that have access to search the Flock's system are our detective bureau or administrators. Everyday officers out on the road are only alerted in real time. So they'll get that alert, they'll go to the area, and that helps them. If we're utilizing it for the purpose of an investigation, it would have to be done by either a detective or an administrator. When we are doing investigations within the system, the things that have to go into place are our CAD numbers, what it's tied to, and the reasons why we're utilizing it. So then at the end of the year, when we do our audits, our administrator of the ALPR system will look into that investigation report and say, yes, this is a valid reason of why he was utilizing it. So that's a little bit about what the audit system is. As far as some of, I guess, the success stories is what you're asking, Councilman?
Yeah, basically, I think. It's not just a simple part.
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes it's crimes and sometimes it could be just a missing an elderly person that's implemented into another database within the state. Could be as far as Cape May all the way up to Sussex County. If it goes into our system as a missing person, they attach the vehicle to in which that person may be driving, and then we would get an alert. And that provides us the opportunity to put our resources in an area where we would be able to find that person. And that has happened multiple times here in town. As far as crimes, we've had multiple times where there were warrants out for an individual who was wanted for various criminal, I don't want to get into the facts of what they are, but for by the Flock system that helped us get to it.
Thank you. It's very helpful.
Just a couple quick comments. First of all, I do want to thank the Bernardsville Police Department for not only implementing this, but all the hard work over the years. I remember just a few years ago, as Dave said, how rampant the car thefts were in our community. And knock on wood, this system has really helped to ramp that down. I take the privacy concern seriously, right? I mean, obviously you should. Hopefully that residents feel better knowing that these protections are in place. They go all the way up to the New Jersey Attorney's General Office. I do think the value has been clear, though, and has really benefited this community and has helped to really instill a sense of public safety. The other thing that didn't come up in the comments, I don't think, maybe you said it, Berners Township, Mendham, other communities in Somerset County, that creates a blanket effect that keeps criminals away from this area overall. Also, you don't want to be part of the network that turns that off either, right? And so I think that that's been a real benefit for what has been a pretty reasonable and honestly minimal cost overall. So thank you.
Yeah, I think what we had done when we had all those car thefts is we had, the mayors of the Somerset Hills had formed a safety committee and met with our police chiefs from each community to look at what we could do. And that's when we started investigating the flock cameras and coordinated locations and access with all 5 towns. So that as people came off 287 or they came off 287 or 78, there was nice that all our neighbors are doing it as well.
Yeah, so they all are. It's a great investigative tool.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that they're located at the entrances to the borough. Just for the record, how many? Do we have?
We have 3.
Right, and they're located at the entrances to the
They're
borough?
located in strategic places where there's high volume.
Oh, fair enough. All right, understood. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one point on that, Ross, because I do want to mention, even though it's 3, they did them smartly in concert with the other communities to ensure that the entry points for the borough were covered from multiple vectors. So I think that's important to point because it's not
absolutely, it is correct. We worked with Berners Township, Far Hills. We didn't want to put cameras in place where other cameras would have gotten the same vehicles. It was a collaborative group that put this together so that we can basically have as much coverage as possible in the Somerset Hills region.
You know, what was interesting, there were several neighborhoods that bought their own, just for their own neighborhood. I think one in the Hills and one in Basking Ridge, that they just wanted it for their own security. All right.
Yeah, we have Andrew Malia. I'm going to ask him to unmute.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Yep. First off, thank you everyone for volunteering. We appreciate it that you're putting in the time to better our community. I just wanted to bring up the area in need of redevelopment designations that we did at the last planning board meeting. I understand that obviously the borough and everyone was in a bit of a time crunch by the state mandates. And so we had to identify areas and all of that. I think that particularly the Bernards Avenue area in need of redevelopment, and we heard it at the planning board meeting, but concerns around just density. I don't disagree that I agree that obviously it's an area in need of redevelopment, and I don't disagree that housing could be put there. I think we need to be aware and that obviously this is an area where there are a lot of families, a lot of kids going to Kiwanis Park, a lot of folks taking walks. And so to add the level of housing or the number of units could obviously create more traffic. And so I would just recommend that we make sure that we do the due diligence before committing to anything in terms of number of units, size, density, things like that, that we're making sure that it's still a neighborhood where families can buy their first starter home and then become lifelong residents of the community. I would echo Mr. Graham's comments around just making sure that we have the voices of the community as we go through this process, given, like I said before, we are in a bit of a crunch, but now we have time to really figure out the best steps going forward. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you give us your address?
Sure. Sorry, 20 Columbia Drive.
Thank you. Turn this on, sorry. So we had a request for a speed bump on Prospect, and so we did an investigation. I'll let Tim explain.
Dive into a little bit of the history of the street as well as what's coming of us over the last month. There has been repeated concerns about vehicles parked and obstructing the roadway, and as well as vehicles traveling at excessive speeds on the Blind Hill area of Prospect Street. For people that don't know Prospect Street, we're looking at the area from Mount Airy Road to Washington Avenue, more specifically at the Hillcrest by Condon. That roadway is 25 mile an hour with an advisory speed that's not enforceable of 15 miles an hour at the Hillcrest due to limited sight distances. This really was studied in depth by the borough back in 2020. So I'll go over some speed data from there, the recommendations from there, and then present time as well. Back in 2020, the 85th percentile was 28 miles an hour, and the 86th percentile, the more we're looking at that, is 85% of the vehicles on that roadway during the time studied are traveling at that 28 miles an hour or lower. Recent data, that is now 29 miles an hour in opposed to 25 mile an hour street. From May to July of this year, there was 31,435 cars on the roadway. The average speed was 20 over that time, and the 85th percentile was 28 miles an hour. While the current data for the speed doesn't demonstrate widespread speeding problems, there's obviously outliers, and the roadway's geometry, sight distance, and parking conditions create additional safety concerns for us, the police department. Some of the statutes that fall into play here that we looked at when doing this research was Title 39, 4136, which requires 200 feet of sight distance and 15 feet of free passage of a parked vehicle when it's parked on the side of the road. At the narrowest point of the road near the hill crest, the police sedan we use for measurements only leaves exactly 15 feet of free passage. There was also a FedEx truck up there at the time, and that gave us less than 13 feet of free passage, which violates the state statute. Additional applicable statutes for parking is under Chapter 4138, which looks into intersections, stop signs, and fire hydrants, which are all applicable in that stretch, as well as 467, which a driver may not park their vehicle, which obstructs the traffic of the roadway. Since 2020, we've had 16 parking complaints up there. We've had 1 speeding complaint. This would be the 2nd speeding complaint. We've had 11 reported crashes. The vast majority were all with parked cars, and one of the crashes that was significant was a vehicle hit a parked car and then overturned. In 2020, the recommendation was to prohibit parking in the affected area. At the time, the ordinance was not moved forward. So there's one way to move forward from discussing with the police department and administration. It's not an easy decision to make, but it's not only a concern of vehicle speed, it's also the roadway geometry, the limited sight distance, restricted vehicle passage, parking statutes, and the crash history. Our recommendation from the police department would have a qualified engineering firm evaluate Prospect Street again with the updated speed data, parking data, crash data, and sight distances, and have them give us an updated recommendation for the most appropriate location and type of traffic calming measures, as well as reevaluate the 2020 parking restrictions that were proposed back then.
Okay.
Sorry to use my notes, but there was a lot of stats
Yeah,
in there.
no, that was a lot. I didn't realize there were that many crashes on that street.
Just in that stretch.
Yeah. So the recommendation is that we have a traffic engineer do a study.
Yes, ma'am. That'd be our recommendation, to have them reevaluate the
Yeah.
2020 recommendation, as well as any new recommendations that may.
Did we have one in 2020? Was that done by a traffic engineer, or was it just?
Yes, ma'am.
It was, okay.
And that's when the speed signs were installed and the no parking was proposed.
With the no parking option, how many spots are we talking about in your opinion, on either side? do we
It'd
think?
be, right now, the southern side of the street is already posted by borough ordinances, no parking.
Oh, right.
We'd be talking about the northern side of the street that is not posted, but is also, there's applicable Title 39 statutes that would reflect potential no parking in some of those areas. But it would be mostly from Manor Road past Condit's intersection.
The whole direction, you think? The whole stretch there? Okay.
But that would be for the engineer to make a formal proposal.
Seems like just logically, the parked cars there would in and of itself serve as a traffic calming measure. People are going to go slower if there's less room to drive. I drive that road a lot, and that's sort of the case. It's like, you just tend to go slower when there's less space, in between cars. So, which doesn't surprise me why there's not, it doesn't show like excessive speeding there. So.
And we'll have new data from the speed sign that was installed in 2020?
The data we have, the big chunk of data with the 31,000 cars from both speed signs, and then the most recent study from 2 weeks ago, the 85th percentile was 29 miles an hour, an official calibrated speed study.
Great, thank you.
So do we want to proceed with the engineering report?
Can we just put in speed bumps?
Well, that was, you do, because he has to decide where they go. That's part of the study.
Yes.
They have to determine the best place.
Yeah.
Because we went through that with Church Street back in the day. Remember that? Wesley? Yeah, Wesley.
Is that the standard? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
It's a standard practice requirement? Or?
Yeah, you do have to have a traffic engineer determine the best place.
Let's try and keep it to the minimum. I don't think they have to do a massive study.
No,
to
it would just
figure
be
out
that
where-
one block,
Yeah.
pretty much. I don't know what they cost, do you know? Do we have one? No, I don't think so. Are you?
Do we have an engineer, a traffic engineer? I don't know who did it last time, but I wasn't here then, but you did approve of one a while ago to work on a couple of speed issues. I could find out how much it would be and make sure it fits in this year's engineering budget.
Yeah, and then we can do a resolution if it works.
And basically what you're asking is that they review everything Sergeant Richard went over and make a recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there a couple spots of concern in town that might make sense to do them all together as part of a, package deal? No?
Probably not.
No? Okay. Worth asking.
Yeah, no.
The question is, it's different in everybody's opinion what those places are.
Yeah. And
We
what
did
the
just,
issue is.
Fair enough.
right.
Okay. We good? Thank you. Both of you. Yeah. You get to leave.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, now we're on our discussion items, the general redevelopment discussion. One of the things I wanted to start with is, I think there's been a misunderstanding about what an area in need of redevelopment means. And so thank you to Nancy and Anthony for posting the FAQs. So if you want to read more about what an area in need of redevelopment is and isn't, there are on the website, it says it's frequently asked questions, I think. There's a posting for what's involved in an area in need of redevelopment. And one of the things to understand is with that, like traditional zoning is basically a broad brush. It covers kind of the whole area. And what an area in need of redevelopment is, it's like a magnifying glass that you zero in on this in beauty, anything in the way of design, whereas in an area in need of redevelopment, we can have input into those kinds of things like the land use, the building design, the density, the parking. There's even, I think, more public input on the process. So, for example, if somebody bought the Palmer property, and under traditional zoning, they could have put in 130 units in a big glass box, and that would have been handed to the planning board, and they would have to deal with it. And if it met all the zoning, it would probably go through. As an area in need of redevelopment, we get to say, we want to keep that look of the Palmer building. We want it set back. So for Olcott Square, we can improve the electric and maybe the watering for the garden club. Same thing with Church Street. With that development, I mean, one of the things we've talked about that is important there, and I think to Fran's point, we want more parking. We need more parking. So that's one of the things that we can say to that developer, give us a plan with more parking, and we want that park developed. We couldn't do that under traditional zoning, but you can do it under an area in need of redevelopment. So looking at just one thing I wanted to throw out there, as these projects come on, most of these developers are going to ask for a pilot, more than likely. What I'd like to suggest is that, and this is any future pilots for the school district. I know that's an issue with people that, they don't get any of the traditional taxes out of a pilot. But I'd like to say that if the 10% would be strictly for capital improvements. So instead of the school bonding to fix the tennis courts, they would have money from us to do that in cash. even though the school gets whatever they ask us for, they do their budget, they give it to us, and we have to pay it, even if we don't collect all the taxes. That's our obligation. I think it would be a good gesture for us to share part of the pilot with them, particularly because it benefits the whole community. If they can do more with cash and not have to bond and add to their debt, I think that would be useful. But we can go into that more in September at the work meeting. That was just my thought on that. And that would be whether or not children come out of it. If there's a pilot for a senior building, we would still give them that money. It's not based on how many children are coming out of those developments. The other thing we were talking about, was Quimby. And I don't know, Matt, if you want to jump in, or do you want me to start? If you'll notice on the agenda, we have a mutual agreement with Advanced Realty to terminate the original redevelopment agreement. And maybe you can explain better what that's all about. Matt is our redevelopment attorney, by the way, Matt Jessup.
Certainly. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Matt Jessup, McManus, and Scotland and Bauman, as the mayor just mentioned, your redevelopment council. Mayor, as you mentioned, Quimby has been an area in need of redevelopment going back to 2018. The block, what we call the Block 70 properties, which are really the 202 Quimby and Mill Street properties, and most of the what we call Block 71 properties, Quimby, Mill Street, and Claremont, have previously been dedicated an area in need of redevelopment. In addition, the borough adopted a redevelopment plan for all of those collective properties. There's like 25 properties in total, real estate properties in total, and designated Advanced Realty as the redeveloper of those properties, and entered into a redevelopment agreement with Advanced several years ago for the development of those properties. As you can imagine, when you have 25 different properties that are owned largely by 25 different people, no matter how good Advance is, no matter how big the efforts of the borough, it is difficult to assemble land significant enough to provide a project that complies with the intent of the redevelopment plan, the vision of the governing body in adopting the redevelopment plan, the revitalization of the downtown, retail on the ground floor, as we heard earlier, the promotion of that walkability in town. That gets very difficult. And despite all of the efforts, noble efforts by the borough and of course by our developer Advance, fast forward 4+ years later, and the developer has not been able to accumulate enough land in either block to put together a redevelopment plan for those sites that they would want to execute on, like they are with Palmer, and or that the borough would like to execute on, right, to revitalize the downtown. So we have come to the conclusion between the borough and Advance that despite all of our collective good faith efforts, it's time to reset the table on Block 70 and Block 71. So the resolution you have before you tonight would terminate the redevelopment agreement from 2022 with Advance for those Block 70 and Block 71 lots. It would de-designate Advance as the redeveloper of the Block 71 lots immediately, which are the, again, Quimby, Mill, Claremont properties. And it will provide 60 days for us collectively to continue to think about ways to potentially redevelop the Block 70 lots. And if we can't get there, then at the end of the 60 days, Advance will be de-designated as the redeveloper of those Block 70 lots as well. So in sum, despite years of, big efforts, planning, vision, and a lot of effort by the redeveloper and by the borough, it seems that we've come to a point where it's time to reset the table, to think about a new way to develop the Quimby Avenue properties, to continue to find a new way to ensure that those 13 affordable housing units are put on that site, which is a priority of the borough. And to do that, we're essentially, we've agreed with Advance to start from scratch.
That was a great summary. Thank you.
Sure.
Can I say some clarifying questions,
Yeah.
Matt? Thank you for that, Matt. So just to clarify, I think I know most of this too, but even for residents' benefit, but I do have one question here. It's keeping the area in need of redevelopment, like the designation for the whole area. That's correct,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's an important, very important distinction, right? So while, going back to the mayor's comment earlier about process and probably what the frequently asked questions talk about, you designate property in area in need of redevelopment. You separately adopt a redevelopment plan for those properties, which is the zoning for the properties, and then you separately designate a developer and enter into an agreement with a developer. We are terminating the designation of the redeveloper. We are not at this time amending or modifying or rescinding the redevelopment plan, which is the zoning for the property, and we are not rescinding or amending or changing the designation of those properties as an area in need of redevelopment.
Right.
They were an area in need in 2018. We have not redeveloped them. They are, if not more so, an area in need of redevelopment today.
So to clarify, thank you for that clarification. So the agreement that was passed in 2022, that will be null and void, so that'll be done. And then they will, just to clarify, like I guess maybe this is too simplistic, but 70 and 71, 71 is getting de-designated, so there will no longer be the named developer for 71, and they will continue for 60 days to be the developers for 70.
Correct.
And essentially, is 70 the areas that the properties they own now and the borough properties, like just to?
Correct.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly right. Within Block 70, again, there's 14 lots, including condo lots, within Block 70. The borough owns 2 parcels there, and the developer owns at least one condo lot
Right, so
there.
plausibly, if, within 60 days, this would be a more plausible proposal if they could reach it in agreement with the borough, because the borough owns the properties, they own some properties, and it still fits within this larger potential construct of the area need development, but only potentially coming to an agreement with the areas that they own and we own right now.
Certainly.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Anybody else?
I'm a little dubious that 60 days what we couldn't get done in 4+ years, but at least it's moving in the right direction. So I'm in favor of it.
So I think there's, for residents, 3 things that I really like about this is clarity, character, and community involvement. So clarity, this gives us, as we talked about in the last meeting, clarity for our downtown businesses of what the future projects will look like, because it's been hanging over us in the downtown, and particularly well-loved businesses like the movie theater. That gives them clarity over what their future will look like and allows them to invest in their businesses and draw more folks to downtown. Character, I think a lot of folks recognize the additional development around town mandated by our state authorities. This allows us to shrink the size of the original vision to make it smaller, more in fitting with our character of our community, as there are already a large number of units coming to our downtown. So it's better with character, and last, community involvement. We can bring it up to speed, get everyone's input, and get something that really works for our town, and really a jewel, but a well-sized jewel for the middle of our town.
Well, I think one of the things that's important, when we started looking at Quimby, there were no other projects on the horizon. That was our only redevelopment project. So we were looking at a bigger area. Now that we have so many other projects in the works, we don't need another big project. We don't need it to be what we still need the 13 affordable units, because that's in our fair housing plan. One of the things I did, I reached out to the Department of Community Affairs. They have this local planning services. And because we are a Main Street, New Jersey town, we are eligible for their free technical services. So they approved us to help with any stalled projects, or in rewriting a redevelopment plan, or just coming up with a new look as an outside agency coming in. They said, I think we're on the slate for September, maybe mid-September, and they asked that I put a committee together of staff, planning board, a few other things. So I have put on the committee our administrator, myself, Councilman Charlie over here, Sam Mataluna, who was on the original Quimby committee, Peter Cocosiello, Anthony Melillo, because he's the closest neighbor, and Bill Morrison from the planning board. I think that's what I have so far. And then that will also have a public forum based on what their findings are. So I think that'll give us some new eyes. You know, we've all been so entrenched in this that I think having somebody else take a look at what we're facing will be useful. And it's free. So I like free.
And we've worked with them before. They're excellent.
Oh,
So
good.
we'll be in
Good
hands.
to know.
Couple more comments.
Yeah.
Okay, please, go first.
Oh, sorry. No. You said that was in relation to the Main Street community. I'd also be curious to see what support we have as a transit village designated earlier this year.
Forgetting to turn this on. You have to have either a designated urban enterprise zone, an opportunity zone, brownfields development, or Main Street, New Jersey program. So that's why we qualified for this free thing. We don't have any of those other things. It's not a public session.
So because they are block 70, block 71, I think it's repeat which ones are still in and which ones are out, because we're not familiar with blocks.
You want to do that?
Certainly. So Block 70, we're referring to tax maps, right, which may be available on the township's website or the borough's website, I'm not sure. But Block 70 are all of the properties on 202, Mill Street, and Quimby Lane, right? So those three roads connect. All of the properties within that boundary are what we're calling the Block 70 properties. All of those properties were declared an area in need of redevelopment in 2018. All of them are subject to a redevelopment plan, and all of them were under our redevelopment agreement with Advance Realty as the redeveloper of all of those lots within that Block 70. And as we mentioned earlier, the redevelopment agreement will be terminated as to Block 70 if you choose to adopt the resolution before you tonight. Block 71 are effectively the properties across Quimby Lane Mill Street, and then Claremont is the other boundary of what we call Block 71. Now, not all of the properties in Block 71 are in the area in need of redevelopment. There are properties on Quimby as you get close to 202. So as you leave Mill Street and you travel down Quimby towards 202, the last, I'm going to say 5 or 6 properties on Claremont are not in the area in need of redevelopment. But all of the properties on Quimby, right across the street there are, all the properties along Mill are, and most of the properties on Claremont heading back down from Mill towards 202 are in the area in need of redevelopment. Those Block 71 properties are subject to the redevelopment agreement, which again would be terminated immediately, and advances for future development or planning, and then with whomever we ultimately choose to execute, one or more developers if we get that far.
Okay. That help?
Well, I just wanted to, sorry.
Please.
Where's the FAQ located on the website there? I just want to,
Right. Thank you.
oh, under the tab.
The 5 buttons across the top. It's the farthest one on the right.
I know we'll talk about this more in September, but just a few thoughts. First of all, like Rich, I'm very happy that we're finally getting some momentum on Quimby. I thank the mayor for her leadership on putting us on a path. I know you said some comments last time to get us there. I think we've all realized for some time that that agreement has been DOA. Back in the middle of the last decade, 2015, 2016, 2017, that led to that 2018 and then eventually the 2022 agreement. There really was a lot. And to your point, that was really envisioned as a European style village that was supposed to be the central, one of the central aspects of our business district. However, a lot has changed, and also the economics of that project became very untenable and unrealistic. I remember joining council, and they were already talking about that project being well over 200 units. And so that was only due to the fact that people weren't selling those properties and were trying to raise the price or try to get as much profit as possible. And what I do think working with Advance does, at least for those 60 days, it doesn't put us back in that situation. They own properties there, and they're going to, if we make an agreement, great. And if we don't, they're going to have to sell them, and we don't want to end up in the same position where they're essentially trying to, kind of have last mover aspects of that. I would say for this committee, which sounds great, it's going to be really important. The committee gives the community a very clear timeline and process by which this is going to, we're going to have discussions around this, how residents can get input, and like various constituencies, residents, property owners, businesses that are downtown. Like, I think these are all pretty important. Whether we're going to have community forums, we're going to be able to have ideas, how it's eventually going to be cycled through, planning board and then eventually up to council, I think is important. I think that will give residents a lot more confidence in not only the process, the transparency, but what eventually be there too. So I think it's really positive first step. And I think whether we talk about it in September, this committee comes with a proposal, it's going to be really important to hear what the timeline is throughout the fall to, make sure that we have community input and get it back on track.
The committee you mentioned for the planning, are those, like, what was the reasoning to pick those people?
Letters, let me see. I don't know if I can put it together. You know what, the letters in the packet from the DCA. They suggested a list of people. So they said staff, planning board member, interest, people that are involved in it, that have been involved, anybody that's affected by it, which is why I thought Anthony Melillo would be, and he agreed.
And is he a property owner?
What? No, I get to appoint committees.
Well, that's what we're doing. That's what I'm just asking, like, if he's a property owner in that area, should he be in there? Like,
Well,
is that the goal?
any development will affect him.
Right.
So, yeah.
Has it been opened up to any of the other property?
They said 6 people, 6 to 7, so I didn't want it to get too big. I'm assuming once that group has some
Right.
discussion, then it will expand to anybody that's surrounding it. It's very hard to do anything with 12, 15 people.
Got it.
Okay. Anything else?
I guess just to Rich's point, if we have others, do we send you suggestions, Mayor? I mean,
Yeah, I haven't heard back from them as to
What they wanna-
what it's all about. He just said to start putting people together.
Right.
And they gave me a list of who they thought was, I keep forgetting to turn this on. They had a suggested list of people. They said, 6 to 7, and I have one letter from them. They're going to reach out 2 weeks before they're ready to come and give us more information on what it is the committee's going to do, what the timeline will be, but I don't have that yet, so.
yeah, if we can discuss that at the work meeting, it might be good. Like, for example, I do think at times not having a representative from the business community has actually slowed some of the discussions we've had on the downtown before. So might be good to just take a look at that once we hear.
Well, I was hoping to get someone from Main Street as well, but I
Yeah.
haven't gotten one of them yet. Because they're kind of like the chamber-ish, so, but still working on it. Happy to get suggestions. Moving on to the dam. No, not yet. Bob?
No, it's not a public meeting, but could someone provide an explanation of 76-189? when you get a chance, as part of the discussion.
What is that? No, we're not there yet. Do you want to talk about Millennial and the grant for the dam?
Yes. Everybody okay?
We okay? Is that what it was? Sorry.
That's all right. Everybody all right? Okay. Okay, so we found a grant that we thought would be, we had a really good shot at. Just looking for my notes, hang on. Okay, so as you know, the estimate that we were up to is $3.5 million. We got around $800,000 so far in grants. And for this one, it's called the Community Resilient Communities through the DCA. We would be applying for $2.7 million, which would be the rest of the cost. And to me, it seemed like a no-brainer. There's a cost for us. Obviously, there always is for the grant writer and for the engineer. It would be a combination of $9,000 would be their cost to apply. But I mean, the return on investment, should we get anything, is amazing. We were asking if you would formally approve applying for that. What would happen is the engineer is required to do a public hearing, which would happen at some point during the week of September 7th. There's then a 14-day comment period. The application is due by September 30th, and the awards are announced in November. We would still, it would delay the start of it till next year, but again, if we got that amount of money, it'd be worth waiting for, and all of the other grants would be able to be held off, like everything else would remain in place. We wouldn't lose anything. We still don't even have our permit from the DEP. So yeah, we're not, I know the engineer was meeting today with the DEP to try and straighten that out, but you know, it seemed like an opportunity we could not pass up if there's a possibility of getting any amount, with the possibility of getting all of it. Seemed like and the grant writer thinks we have a good chance, so.
Yeah, and what do we stand to gain the total amount? How much are we looking at?
I mean, we're applying for 2.7.
Okay.
I don't know what the odds are of getting all of it, but he said he thought that we had a really good chance at getting a grant.
And do we have a current projection for the, current DEP approval? I mean, we don't really have a set start date or range without that, correct?
Can't start without it, correct.
Right.
So I didn't hear back from her today. I don't know if that's good or bad. No news is good news sometimes, right? So hopefully I'll hear from her in the next couple of days. And, the person who was supposed to give us the permit retired. So they have to now kind of track that down. But in the meantime, we're hoping to apply for this grant, if everybody's okay with that.
It's great news, right? I mean, we're at 3.5 down to 2.7. If we can get anything off there, it's, given all the discussion we had over the last few months in this, there's even a 25% chance we get some material.
Okay. There is a resolution later if you're in favor.
Yeah, and even if we don't get the whole amount, any amount, if it's 2 million, we'll take it. Next is the Highlands. This refers to resolutions 176 and 183. So what that basically means is These are the two reports that Jessica is working on, our planner. So the Highlands Center Plan element will consolidate the borough's existing downtown and center-related planning documents into one plan to address the borough's designation as a Highlands Center. So we're separating out the center from the rest of the town. And then that's going to outline all the zoning, the redevelopment areas, the affordable housing proposals, and any resources within the center. And then the planning area element of the master plan is going to incorporate the Highlands planning area regulations into our master plan for all the areas outside of the center. So that's our next steps in this process. And both of those are covered by the Highlands. They pay for both those studies. So that was, okay. Aquatic facility feasibility study, this came from Recreation. They are requesting a study on the pool, which is long overdue, I think. So thank you to them for reaching out. They have reached out to Brandstetter, who did our recreation master plan a couple of years ago, did an excellent job. The key thing with Brandstetter is they do a tremendous amount of public input. They met, and that was during COVID, besides that they did that. So they did a lot of Zoom meetings then. But they met with every committee, commission we had, every sports group. They had lots of open public sessions to get as much input. They had surveys. They did a lot of outreach as to what people want. And then they're also going to do really look at the facility and what kind of repairs and things we need to do to keep it going. So that will be $30,000. I think that's on a resolution, isn't it, to approve?
It's on a resolution, but Jack, we were suggesting taking that money out of the open space trust fund.
Yes. Yeah, that
We
could
can
be
do a
open
resolution.
space
Yes. Okay.
funds. Yeah. So, any comments?
So this will give us like basically the capital plan or revised more intelligence on the cap. Jessica's, I think, it's maybe can't be good to reference for here, Metcalf and Highland, removing of staff if we can with Jessica on this, as far as I understand.
Yes, these are the next two steps. I think it's a process. Like it's
two steps, actually.
Are they?
It
I
might
think
be.
there might be one more after
Yeah.
that. I think we have to do an ordinance after that.
Oh.
Right, so
Yeah,
these have
that's
to,
right.
right, that's the next step, right? So it took a while, but I mean, it does take, you have to go step by step. And they only allocate so much money to reimburse us each year. They're on a fiscal year, the Highlands, so they go July to June. So they came up with a time frame for us, and I think we're an ordinance and become the members.
For a few months.
I think we're close.
Yeah.
Could we just provide a little bit more information on the aquatic feasibility study? It would give us maybe, some of the alternatives between what it would cost to, do certain repairs on existing facilities versus replacement of certain. Is that, really?
Well, I think that's what it's going to give us. I mean, their proposal's pretty comprehensive. I thought it was a really good proposal for the amount of money that they're charging. I think that I know that, what the taxpayers subsidize the pool because it cannot be sustained just on membership alone. Membership this year dropped even more. So I think what we really do we want to do this for 100 families while everybody else pays for it? Or do they want to see something else there? But then the second part, which is equally, if not more important, is what needs to be done there to get that facility, the entire facility, into a condition that if people want to still go there, that we make it worth their while to go there. What will that cost? And when I first came here 3 years ago, they were in the midst of doing or just finished that master plan, recreation master plan. And the rec director at the time told me that they had thrown around numbers of that it was going to cost $1 million to replace the pool. I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, could be, right? But we need to know those answers. Like if we didn't see anything, we did a very preliminary thing. Tom, the current rec director, like 6 months ago or whatever, he did a preliminary, like, oh, here's some little Band-Aids for the pool, but we need to know like big picture. We can't just keep throwing, good money after bad. We want to see what it will take to get it in good shape and if people want to go.
And also if there's something that they'd like added there that would make them want to go.
Yes.
If it's not meeting what they want now, maybe we
Right,
can.
a splash park.
Yeah, maybe we can make it more appealing.
Right. We want to hear from the public what they want
Yeah.
there and what would make them want to go there.
Yeah.
Definitely want to see the pool thrive, bring new membership in, new ideas, and see what we can do with the current facilities there, so.
Our goal is to make it break even. We don't need to make a profit. We want to break even.
We want to see it grow.
Jack.
Last on the pool, once we get these costs laid out over the next few years, I think it'd be great to come up with a equal revenue plan to increase membership to meet these costs, to have a business plan we basically can follow in cohort with them.
Yeah. Jack, you want to tell us where we are at the post office?
I finally get to give good news.
Yes.
In 1968, the borough entered into a lease, convoluted lease with the post office with a middleman. It could be the worst lease ever written. It went all the way through after options were exercised through July 31st of last year. The bottom line is during that entire period, the borough received $1,500 a year in rent. At the expiration of that lease last year, based on Nancy's research, we told the Postal Service that market rents were $15,000 a month. They agreed to that, but the next thing we know, we got a payment based on $15,000 a year. After a lot of correspondence, they finally recognized that our proposal was reasonable, so they've now agreed that they will pay $15,000 a month. They will pay us retroactively back through August 1st of last year for a total of $168,000 lump sum payment, and they'll continue paying $15,000 a month. This lease extension goes through December 31st of this year, and it provides that at that time, the parties can mutually agree to continue the lease on a month-to-month basis.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Jack.
Great work, Jack.
Thank you.
Jack, I just want to emphasize this is a month-to-month lease that we're extending. There's no, super long-term to this. It's at both
I
mutual
agree.
discretion.
They say they're making a good faith effort to find a new location within town. Let's hope they're
Yeah.
really doing that.
Wonderful.
But the lease you're approving today goes through December 31st for now.
Right, but then there's a month-to-month.
Yeah.
But at least in the meantime, we're getting paid market rent.
Yeah.
And you're saying that because it's a centerpiece of our redevelopment.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And you had asked me about the money, what we could use the money for. I talked to the CFO, we cannot use it till next year. And she's suggesting we use it towards capital or something. It's basically, you should treat it like a one-time revenue because hopefully we won't have it forever. We'll enjoy it while we get it, but hopefully it won't be there forever because the post office will find a new location, but, not something towards operating.
Oh, no.
Right, so, but we won't be able to use it until next year.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to 7F, Pinto Consulting assisting the borough with farmland preservation. We have reached out to Pinto because we're looking at having some expert advice on farmland preservation, how we can use it in our community. And we have met with, Roberta, you're here, with some of the Meadowbrook Farm people just to get, find out where things are and if it's a viable tool or not. So we'll be paying for them to do the research, but it's up to, of course, the owners of the property, what they want to do. But that's just us. These are our consultants. So, and I think we'll have more on that in the future. So this is just putting them on as a consultant. We did the speed bumps. The Girl Scout troop did their Silver Award project. They did kiosks for which two parks? Do you remember which ones?
Do them yet? They want your permission
they're
because
proposing to do them
right.
for
So
Kirkpatrick.
at the Polo Grounds.
Polo Grounds.
And at the entrance to Peters Tract off Claremont.
Okay. Which I think is a lovely thing. We've been talking about getting kiosks in there, so I don't have, anybody have an issue with that?
No.
And I know it's especially hard to find the entrance off the Polo Grounds if you're trying to find that back way into the old Army Trail. So I think having a kiosk there would be a big help. The back to school celebration, that is the school does this every year to help their ESL students get their forms filled out and anything they need in terms of special services. I think the police give out backpacks. They do car seats. So it's a really nice program they do. And they usually do it in the picnic area. So I think we're fine with that. We have a couple of beer gardens to approve. These are getting so popular. Chef is doing one on September 26th. It's their 30th anniversary of the Somerset Hills Education Foundation. So they're having food trucks and vendors and all kinds of fun stuff at the Polo Grounds, but are they on the far side? Where are they on the Polo Grounds? Do you remember?
They're on the baseball field side.
Okay. So put that on your calendar. It should be a fun thing. I think it's like $10 for a ticket or something is a fundraiser for them. And they do a lot of great stuff for the school. The other is the Mountaineers Pep Rally on 9/3, which is the same as the high school pep rally. So I think that was, okay. Cub Scout temporary sign request. Oh, we just got this one, right? Anthony, the Cub Scout?
Yes, we did, and it's for an extension of the 14-day period that they can put temporary signs up
And what are the signs for?
for their rocket launch.
Oh, the rocket
Rocket launch
launch,
event,
that's right,
yeah.
yes. Okay. Anybody have a problem with how much more did they want besides the 14?
They wanted, I think, 2 additional weeks. I think in total it was about 4 weeks instead of 2. I think it was up to September 13th, I want to say. But it was an extra, I believe, 2 weeks for a total of 4.
Sounds great. More rockets, the better.
It's 3. Okay. What happened to my page 3? Everybody good with that? That's my page 3. Where's page 3?
Ordinances?
Oh.
We're on ordinances.
Oh, we have just an introduction. All right, what's that? So we have an introduction. You want to start down there? Yeah.
Ordinance providing for the improvement of Hardscrapple Road in and by the Borough of Bernardsville in the county of Somerset, New Jersey, and appropriating $284,571. Therefore, constituting proceeds of grants from the New Jersey Department of Transportation be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, September 28th, 2026.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now moving on to resolutions, we have 26-174 through 26-192. Is that the last one? Yeah.
But we're going to add.
Well, we're going to add.
196.
Oh, this is the next page.
Yeah.
Yes, and then, so we're going to add 197. And I think we pretty much talked about them all, didn't we?
I just have one comment on 26-181, Fovionics. I just want to commend Nancy. The total amount there is 160,000, which is down from our original
Yeah.
200,000. So I appreciate Nancy's work with the budget there to get that, save $40,000 for residents.
Jack, towards Bob's question.
Yes, I was just turning on my mic. Yeah, this is a traditional developers agreement prepared by the planning board engineer, and all it does is memorializes all the developer's obligations in connection with the development. It sets forth the amount of the performance guarantee, the maintenance guarantee. It's not like a redevelopment agreement.
Right.
Which goes into great detail. This does not add anything substantive to the approvals granted by the planning board.
Okay, thank you, Jack.
Sure.
Mayor, can I just make a suggestion about the Civic Plus resolution? Because it's under the bid threshold, I could sign it. I don't have the resolution information ready for what line items it's going to come out of or anything. So if you could just do a resolution that would authorize me to sign that, is that okay, Jack? Because we don't need to do, it's a capital ordinance that was already done, so it's not like you need to do a new one for that.
Oh, right. Okay, so that would be 197 for Nancy to execute the agreement. Any other, and a membership in the fire company, thank you to our volunteer, and this is Hope Kaczynski, who is not a student, so, yeah, which is nice when we get some young people to be in the fire company, so thank you for that. Okay. Any questions on any of the others? I think most of them we've already talked about. Ross, you want to do that?
I'll authorize, I vote to.
No, I move.
Sorry. I move the resolutions 26
Ribeiro?
Yes.
Mr. Ruse?
Yes.
Mr. Zaram?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer?
Yes.
Ms. Zamara? Mr. Zazarino?
Yes.
All right. Reports. Mayor's update. I attended we now have, I think I've said before, a food pantry at the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Chapel on Bernards Ave, which we're really excited that we now have a food program back in Bernardsville because we lost the one we had over at the on Claremont. They are changing it to Tuesday nights, so the next one is actually tomorrow night. So if you just want to stop by and see the operation they've got there, it's very impressive. It's coming out of the Somerset County Food Bank. They've set up a lot of people are walking there because a lot of the people that need that are in that neighborhood. And I think they're going to be doing 2 Tuesdays a month, starting in maybe September or October. Did my 39th wedding. National Night Out, thank you to the police department. It was really, I loved having it at the pool. I think that was a much better location. And I heard that from a lot of people. It also gave people who aren't members of the pool an opportunity to see the facility that we have. Well done by the police department, so kudos to them.
That was a great event.
Yeah. I met with Ed Zimmerman, who used to be the director of the Somerset County Governing Officials Association, that he had some health and family issues, and we're trying to get it back up and running. I know, Jeff, you had gone to some of those when you were on the council. Remember those governing officials, which is really nice because it's a bipartisan group. that once a month get together for dinner. It's a great opportunity to just talk to other elected, you've been to them too, talk to other officials, no matter what their party, and just share ideas. And there's usually a good speaker. And so we're trying to get that back up, hopefully in September. Just a couple of things before our next meeting comes up. There's a senior barbecue at the pool that's as in senior citizens, not high school seniors. We got that confused last year. On the 26th, there's a senior barbecue at the pool at 12 o'clock. The 31st, Community in Crisis does their overdose awareness vigil, which is always a very moving event. So if you have the chance, it's 8 o'clock on the 31st at their place on Church Street. And then I'm going over the edge again. So on the 19th, I'm rappelling down the building. So feel free to sponsor me if you'd like. That's mine. No. Did I say August 9th? September 19th. Yeah. Yep. Nancy, you have anything else? I know you did a lot already.
I have a lot.
Oh, okay.
Something minor, but would be help to our residents. We are installing a drop box, kind of a mailbox outside construction. I'm not sure why there was never one, but it occurred to us that there are contractors and maybe even homeowners who want to drop off their paperwork before we open or after we close. So just like we have up front, it will be a locked drop box for people to drop off their permit applications or checks or what have you, just to make it more convenient, give them another opportunity if they can't make it when we're open. So that'll be done in the next week or two. Want to give an update on some roads. The Boyland Terrace project, there's an on-site meeting tomorrow with our engineer and the contractor and DPW. It should be starting soon. I do not have a date, but the fact that they're there tomorrow is a good sign. So kind of happy about that. Dayton Crescent, the DOT visited last week for their inspection. It needs a couple of signs moved. They said we could start to fix the striping removal. Now I'm waiting for the engineer to tell us how that's going to happen and when. The train station in Childs Road is not good news. We found out that the original plans that we submitted to DOT last year were bid out before DOT's approval. So now the DOT has looked at them. They had 19 corrections that the engineer is required to make. And the engineer also found out that they need a highway occupancy permit from the state and a county road opening permit. Childs Road and train station sidewalks. The sidewalks, the Childs Road sidewalk.
Finishing the connection from the Delta station down to the Somerset Hills Court.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that'll take some time. We awarded that bid last December, but this approval is going to take time. And the only explanation I could give is that there was that glitch at the engineer. They had, personnel issues and they switched engineers. I can't really give you any kind of explanation beyond that. We do. So I'm optimistic.
So can we do a change order with the current bid, or do we have to rebid the whole thing?
I don't think that it will require a change order. I'm hoping. I don't know what the 19 corrections are. I'm hoping they're all just administrative and it won't cost us a lot more, but we do have extra money in the grant. So if we have to do change order, we would, but it's not going to cost us more because we have some room within the grant.
Okay.
But we shouldn't have to rebid it then, you're saying? Yeah. Okay.
No, because it should be less than,
Okay.
what is it, 20% even then, right? It's 20, and I don't think that it would be that much.
Since the state got back to us on that, are we expecting like a shorter period of time for them to get back, or should we be waiting, expecting at least another several months on that?
I'm hoping that with this new engineer that they'll move a little bit faster, but there are a lot of steps within that highway occupancy permit.
Right.
A lot of, like 4 people have to sign off on it. So the state only moves so fast. But on some good news, if you remember, New Jersey American Water did significant work in the Boylan Terrace area when they redid their water main in that whole neighborhood. So normally what would happen is they would pave afterwards, but since we already had our job that we had already, bid out and awarded, Kevin negotiated a payment in lieu of paving, and we got it finally the other day, $156,213, which will help us with towards our project. It does not include that first section off west on Boylan where they dug their pit to go under the train station. Remember, it's like 30 feet deep. We did not want ownership of that, so we're not paving that. They're paving. New Jersey American Water is paving that one. New Jersey Transit advised like 2 weeks ago that the asbestos work had been awarded to a contractor at the end of June, and they will begin in the coming weeks, quote unquote. But they have been doing cleaning and temporary cleaning and asbestos abatement. Not sure exactly how that's different than the asbestos company coming in, but that's exactly what she said.
So to confirm, there is work ongoing.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
I see people there occasionally.
You see people there, okay.
Yeah, originally they were doing it in May, then they were doing it in July. Yeah, we're still.
We've been working with our Assemblyman McCurdy, who's been pressing them, so maybe this is providing results after we attended that open house. I attended the open house, some time ago. Or do we need to press them again?
I had Senator Brook, had anybody we could call and get, we're working on short-term and long-term solutions. Isn't that the answer we get all the time?
It is, and they refuse to give us a timeline.
Yeah, and no timeline.
Public Works removed the old playground equipment, so they are prepping that area. The contractor informed me that the installation should happen in the next month. So while it may not be by Labor Day, it will be around that time. Our annual milling and paving program is complete, which is good because last year it didn't happen until November, so it's nice to get it done in August. We milled and paved 9 full roads and 1 partial road. So it was a nice chunk. We had made the inquiry. A couple of you had reached out, and this was brought to my attention actually the day it went on the market, about the possibility of purchasing 5 Crestview, which is adjacent to Kirkpatrick Park. Unfortunately, the sellers fortunately for them, they had 5 offers the first weekend it went on the market. And I have been in touch with the realtor, and it is under contract. The first offer that was made, they accepted. And it's under contract. If something happens, he will let me know. There's always the possibility after the sale closes of talking to the people about getting an easement. So, quick question, RPM, who's doing the work, building affordable housing across the way, had been given permission from the doctor's office to park their vehicles in there. Apparently today that was withdrawn, so they wanted to know if we had any place, and I did talk to the police and DPW, and there is an area, as soon as you go down Old Quarry Road, and as soon as you cross over, I guess right before you cross over the tracks, just past the ballpark there on the left, we have a big gravel area, and can they park there? I guess is the question.
Is that a 9 to 5 parking?
for those vehicles?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that were employees' cars that come in.
That is where deal. So
Oh, well, they won't be leaving them there overnight or anything.
that's
Yeah. So if you're okay during the day, during the week, yeah, okay.
during the day. Okay. With that.
Um,
And just curious, how much longer are those multiple projects going to be going on?
They are obligated
October,
to be finished by, Jack, do you remember? It's not November this year, is it?
I thought it was October or November of this year. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I thought that it was November of this year. It could be 27. There's, for the tax credits. I think it's November. I mean, it couldn't be November 27 because they definitely don't have a year and a half's worth of work left. So maybe it will be done by November of this year. And then the last thing I had you already announced, which is the senior barbecue. And if anybody is interested in going, you have to RSVP by August 22nd, which I think is Saturday, to Test and Recreation, either by phone or email. Phone number 766-2346. Our email is trogers, RODGERS @bernardsville.gov.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the department monthly reports? All in favor?
Aye.
I have to admit, the reports coming out, they're so much easier to read.
Yeah, for sure.
They are. Was that Amanda that fixed that? They really are, because they used to just be like running on, and now you can really understand them. Any other reports? Do you have any committees that met or liaisons in the summer? I don't think anybody's meeting. No. Oh.
Heal from the green team for more vendors at farmers market. So to the extent we can get folks to know businesses that they like, maybe see at other farmers markets or in other towns, send those along and can get those to the green team to continue to populate, make that a really vibrant, great experience.
But it's actually the recreation department that runs the farmers market, so.
It's a recreation department.
And I know they've gotten pushback from some of the people that run it, that they don't want more vendors. I don't know.
Relay the message.
I know. We should get more.
Yeah, we should. Always good to get more, right? So there's a second request that Rob mentioned for a recyclable material bench to be located in Old Cut Square in the park there.
High school?
Okay, I'm getting my notes from Rob, so thank you, Carrie. So the 2020 garden. The Triangle Park on Old Cut Street. Yeah, thank you, Carrie. So this would be one small fence recyclable materials. Those. Okay. And and then there's a request going of the community garden.
Is that still operating? The community garden? Are there people, somebody in charge of it?
The last time DPW was there, it did not look like anybody was gardening it. And regarding the benches, we applied, you recall, for to redo the walks downtown. And improvements in the train station. I believe Main Street also bought benches, so if we get it, we'll have leftover benches, so we could use that one. And because they would all be the same kind. We're aiming to get all of the benches the same uniform.
Well, this was, what was it involved, what was it supposed to be? What kind of bench?
Recyclable materials.
Yeah, so it was, I don't know. But hey, a free one's good. Okay. Yeah. Nobody else? No? Okay. We had a letter from, well, about the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative. So, asking us to support this bill by Steinhardt and Zwicker, which is mainly for veterans and service people. Let me just looking at it.
First responders.
First responders. So just making lung cancer screening more accessible for them. I'm fine with it if we're all good with, particularly because, very often when the kinds of situations they're in, if it's fire or, it affects even veterans who have Agent Orange issues or any of the chemicals. And I think you had a proclamation here. Yes, we do have a proclamation, just in support of the bill. So is anybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. We don't need to do anything, right? We're good. Okay. And last is the Brookside Culvert. I'm sorry you had to sit through all this.
No.
Because we do have your paperwork. I don't know what we're gonna. Have a solution to this. Do we have a solution to this?
Yeah, Nancy pointed out we really can't apply for grants because we don't own it. However, Matt made a good suggestion during the course of the meeting to maybe do it by special assessment. Maybe you can expand on that.
Sure. So, hello, everyone again, Matt Jessup. I'm not your bond counsel, but I am a bond lawyer, so I just happen to, be here. Exactly right. So I just wanted to certainly point out that under 4056, a municipality can either undertake improvements or, at the request of residents, undertake improvements. A specific enumerated list of improvements, one of which is improvements to bridges, not necessarily publicly owned, to be clear, and then specially assess the property owners for the value of the benefit conferred based on those improvements. And what the municipality can do, which private property owners can, or at least not without obviously a lot of difficulty, is you could do that by bond ordinance. You could fund the improvements upfront via bond ordinance. You can issue bonds for a period of 20 years, and effectively the property owners are being specially assessed the amount of the debt service over a 20-year period. So it takes today's obligation by the property owner. To the resident's point, let's say it's $1 million, right? That's a big check for a handful of property owners to have to write. The borough could issue bonds for $1 million over 20 years, obviously at an interest rate. Annual cost is now lower. And importantly, a special assessment runs with the land like taxes, right? So in the event that you impose a special assessment on the property for 20 years, and let's say 3 years later, a property owner sells, the new property owner comes in, that special assessment remains on their property for the remaining 17-year term. So it's a way, I'm not saying it's the answer, but it's a way to provide property owners with a friendly form of financing that is transferable to future property owners and alleviates what might be an obligation to make an upfront cost, which can be significant. And again, private property owners can at best maybe get a 10-year loan or something like that, right, at commercially less reasonable terms than tax exempt public
You do get
entity.
better rates than.
You do get better, do get better interest rates, that's correct. So I just threw out to Nancy and Jack here as I listened that might be something that you want to consider. That's all.
Does that open up any possibility to apply for grants for it because we are conducting that?
That I don't know. I don't have any direct experience with on the grant side. Certainly, is Millennium your actual grant for everything? So if Nancy knows, great. If not, maybe you can talk to Millennium. But certainly, we could make the argument that we are getting, whether it's a construction easement or, we could create an easement type circumstance where we can claim an ownership, perhaps, and see if that, helps carry the day with that argument.
Just to clarify, how many, this only affects the one property or it's two properties? Thank you. Okay.
First and dedicate it up.
I think because it has to be up to code first before we can.
Well, that's what the agreement says between the original. I stepped into this litigation. It's just unfair. Literally, it's criminal that it wasn't disclosed in the settlement.
So that part I agree with. And I want to know, do we know who the seller is?
It was a Chinese private equity company. For me, for Rosie, I have no idea.
So would there be any avenue for us to be able to recoup the money from them because they're at fault for not disclosing? Like a normal homeowner can buy a home and there be an issue that comes up later and then you can sue the seller.
For not disclosing it.
Exactly.
You may have a claim against your title company.
I know. Traction.
Because it was clear in the 1977, I think, planning board case that the owner at the time who owned, 30? The end property, is that 30?
Yeah.
30. So the owner of 30 owned your property and their property and were doing a subdivision before the planning board in I think it was 80s, I think, actually. And a condition of the planning board was that they pave to Tisley, not our Tisley, Bernard's Tisley, which is pretty far. And because they owned that road. So it was very clear. So it seems to me that the title agency had an opportunity to should have picked up that we did not own the road, that we did not own the road.
Here.
Basically on the
Well, actually,
side, right?
Well, we have looked at that. We did look at that. And we actually own a very small portion between yours and your other neighbor's properties. So we looked at using that to access Tisley because our property goes right into the driveway of the owner of, I think it was like 15 Tisley or something. That would work out for you. It would not work out for the person at 30. Well, they would have. So what would happen is you would have to purchase an easement or get an easement from the neighbor to the back of you who lives on the Tisley cul-de-sac. So
I can explain it pretty well. It's my
Okay.
area. Mark, you have the cul-de-sac for Tisley on the Bernardsville side, right? Like you abut sort of catty corner to it, right? What it was essentially saying is there, 15, it's Jerry, would be able could potentially provide an easement so that you can almost have like a driveway or a road, if you will, to connect the two Tisleys. But that's what she's saying.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's because of the stream, right? And so what would have to happen for 30 would have to either use your front yard or your backyard. I don't think the backyard's too deep. So it had to be the front yard, but it couldn't go within so many feet of the stream. So it still leaves 30 landlocked, so I'm not sure. It is, but I don't, but I think if you go back far enough, I mean, this would all need to be looked at by an engineer, but we were just looking at it, the DPW director and I, on a map, just kind of like what Rich was doing. And, you know, I looked up who owned what, and we do own a strip there, which, you know, I'm sure you would all be happy to provide to them for this effort. But I don't know if it's, like I said, even if it resolves your issue, it doesn't help 30.
The number on the code for the bridge that keeps getting thrown around is $1 million. Is that just, right, but I mean, what is it? Do we know what it is?
It was 8.
Oh, because there's a,
Of course, but I was asking because of this bond mechanism that Matt talked about, what the actual number really was.
because there's a,
That decrease in values and terms that you're going to get back. No, I would think it's already in the value because no one knows about it. So if you look at the tax assessment, is that taking into account the repair for the bridge? It's not.
We can't comment on the assessment. It may, but you'd have to speak to the assessor because he's semi-autonomous.
The strip of land does not fully make it to Tisley, is what you're saying? Tisley,
does.
Bernardsville?
It goes right into the driveway of the,
Yeah, I think what
Jerry.
there's just a lot of ifs. You have to have the property owner provide the easement. You have to have an assessment to actually look at the wetlands and say, can it go
There's a
through?
lot.
So the strip of land is not, it does not make it fully to Tisley. It only makes it one of it.
It makes it to a drive.
Makes it to a driveway, okay.
But I think it's
front steps and go over that way.
No. Are you?
I am. I could show you. No, I'm talking if you went to Tisley.
Tisley, Bernardsville.
I'd have to.
Here, so yes, lost this in here, the string.
Yeah, basically be like a spirit, it'd be like a spirit, right?
You don't have to cross the street, which is expensive.
Which is similar to how Sini Drive Extension is.
No way. I mean. Get the grant first. I have no idea how to do that. But if I could get the grant for you.
I see.
Dedicated at that time, and I'm
Grants available to people? I think grants are like nonprofits and
Municipalities, that's my understanding, but I'm no expert in grants.
But there has to be an argument. It impacts the watershed. It's a hazard. It's falling apart from the perimeter in, right? So eventually it's going to fail.
But it only,
So ambulances, police, fire, sanitation won't be able to cross. Then what do we do?
This Matt's is probably the best in here to do it over time. And then whoever, if you sell, the next owner would also pick up that, whatever, how much it would be.
We determine if it's in the current assessment, so that I can see what the difference would be.
You'd have to put Ed Cohen. Who's the assessor? Ed Cohen, the assessor. Ed Cohen, Kerwin, because the council really can't interfere in the assessing process. You know, they're meant to be independent, and they report to the state, not to the council.
Well, that's why you. But I didn't take the hit on. I didn't get the credit on the way in. It's literally.
Turn this on, no, like if you sell it right away with the caveat, the new owner would be paying this off over how many years? They may not mind because it can't be that big a payment. 3%? What do we get? So where are we? What do we do? Well,
2019.
And we don't know seller's contact information? Like, do we?
But
Can we get them?
That's a private matter. That doesn't really involve the borough.
You asked to get that. So.
Yeah, but they just don't do anything. I don't know why. It just doesn't move.
Yeah, the title situation is obviously, was concerning. That's.
Yeah, I think Christine.
Who? And not to, I understand, your brother-in-law, as you said, experience. I am just curious, is there anyone in-house that could look at that and just give their kind of informal opinion on the. Right, I'm just curious, I don't want to say, a study or anything, but.
To be built to, I'm not an engineer. Does it require that it be built to highway, or if it only serves two houses, could it be a lesser standard? Just throwing it out there. I have no idea.
Well, but the thing of it is I don't think it's as much the bridge as it is the culvert underneath. Like, that's why there is a bridge, because there's it's the culvert that is collapsing as far as I understand it. So
Yeah.
it's not just, hey, let's build a bridge.
and that's part of what, the Mine Brook? Is it the Mine Brook?
Yeah.
It's a tributary of the Mine Brook. Well, no, I mean, it goes out to the Passaic River. I mean, I guess ultimately it all does. I
Yeah.
followed it.
So the culvert's collapsing, and that's what's causing the bridge to be out of code.
That's what I understand. I mean, we haven't had anybody look at it.
Fail at some point.
Right.
I mean, I don't.
But we
I
don't
have
know
it.
what it's based on without the assessor, yeah.
You can't tell the assessor what to do. But
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I would say at this point, probably that's your first step, is to talk to the assessor.
And the other question, like what Jack said, what's the standard for if it remains a private
Yeah, we need to
property?
find out what
As opposed to we
what is
know
the
the issue.
code it has to match.
They're a lesser standard. I don't
Yeah.
know.
A driveway over a culvert, I don't know what that standard is.
I don't either, but it's worth looking into.
Yeah. All right, so we've got a few things to do. Can't solve it tonight, Mark, I'm sorry, but
Thank you for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate you coming here and
Yeah.
making us aware of it. And
Okay, and by the way, we're a borough, not a township. That's just one of my things, sorry. I wish we were bigger, but Bernards is a township. We're a borough, because we're little. Okay, well, thank you. And yeah, hopefully you'll hear from us. We'll see what we can find out for you. And do we have Mike Irwin's contact info? Can we give you?
Call, no, I have yours, but call, no, you need to call Janelle. She's the tax assessor's assistant.
And she'll
She's
get
at
in
extension
touch.
121.
And our last thing? Missing up my pages. That's such a mess here. Okay. I think that was our last issue, yes? So now we have another public hearing? Not public hearing, open public session. Yes. Come on up.
I actually could talk, Dan Lincoln, 28 Alcott Avenue. I've talked about 4 or 5 different things, but I'll keep it to one. And that is really a question as to whether there's a way, by the way, Jack, thank you for all your hard work and all of you on the post office lease. I have to congratulate you. That's really, some really great movement. My question, if it's a question, is there any way to monitor their efforts on finding a new location other than them just casually telling you we're working on it? I mean, I think that is something that is just made that whole project stop, is that until that is resolved, I don't see really a way to move forward on the project. So I know in the past, it's my impression, and I don't know this for a fact, my recollection from my wife is that the post office used to be where that hair salon is on 202, so where Tsuki and, Budget Print used to be, and then the hair salon.
Yeah. Really?
Before Palumbo's, and before it was a liquor store.
Before Palumbo's, wow.
So that, and of course, it was in the Bernards Inn before that.
Yeah.
In any case,
Wow.
my guess is that the borough took it upon themselves to find a place for them and not just relied on them to do that. And I'm thinking that perhaps that, and I hate to say this because it's a huge, huge project, but that maybe there needs to be, you need to kind of collect it and just make it happen.
We have given them suggestions.
But
a
I'm
number
thinking
of
it needs a little
suggestions.
more than that at this
Yeah.
point. And you're on a month-to-month lease now, so at least that is like
have
a
a little-
legitimate discussion.
Yeah.
So.
And now they're paying
And if there's
for 40,
anything I can
so-
do to contribute to that, I would.
Yeah, I think
I'd love
because
to
now
help.
they're paying us a lot more, they may
Yeah,
make
so
it
they
a better
might-
incentive.
There you go. There you go. So I was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I know,
Yeah.
well, it was a long time ago, so maybe that was reasonable back then.
Yeah.
In any case, don't make that mistake again. All right, thank
So,
you.
Mayor, if I could, could I just, they've already said that they are going to take the back end and put it, combine it with Bernards. But what they're looking for is a small retail,
storefront.
right? So if you know of someone who's willing to rent out about, I think they said 900 to 1,000 square feet, has to have on street or close to street parking so that people could just park their car, jump out and run in, pick up stamps or whatever.
So looking at Liberty Corner would probably be kind of what you're talking about, because that's a very small post office.
Okay, I don't know that one.
You know? Yeah, something, a place for a truck to pull in and then a little bit of parking somewhere.
So we told them about where the artisan butcher is now.
Yeah.
Before that, right? We told them because that would have been
And parking's
perfect.
great.
It would have been. We told them about the old drive-in across the street down a little bit.
Who's the person that one talks to? Not that I could
It's
do
their
this,
real
but
estate department.
But well, then they had an architect in Milburn or Summit or something I was dealing with. We had them come look at our recreation, our old recreation office in the downstairs of the library, but the parking wasn't close enough for them. We told them about the
Well, Wells Fargo before it got sold.
Wells Fargo.
Yeah, but they passed on that.
That's too expensive.
I guess they were, well, then it turned out it wasn't being rented, they were selling
Somerset
it.
Hill Bank with the clock tower.
Yes.
That would be the most
Yeah.
perfect spot. And if they don't need that much parking, then that parking's good.
Yeah, but it's been sold, unfortunately.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
And then
nice.
and we also told them about next to the Brazilian blowout right over here.
Yeah, that little tiny strip mall that's by the firehouse.
That has, I'm sorry, that has no presence, speaking as an architect, I mean, really.
No,
Did
but
you
there's an
say
empty
something about
store
the
there.
train station? You know what? Mary Jane and I talked about this a little bit. And I said, you know that I'm the architect who got grant money for the Lions train station.
Yeah.
And with Bernards Township, they hired me to do that. And do that. Don't wait for those guys, dealing with them at the Lions train station was a nightmare. Some of the people were good, but a lot of people were just really annoying. So get a grant. It's a historic building. You can get a grant. I can help you do that. And because they'll be like, oh, great, take control of that and make it happen and move them in there. That would be the perfect spot. That would be really, really great. Great presence, beautiful building, and a long-term lease situation.
We wouldn't get any shady tenants in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal. I hadn't even thought of that. It's a great idea. So call me.
Okay. Oh, we got the other side of.
Bob Graham, 84 Dryden. First, I want to take a moment to commend Nancy on the wonderful news about the progress you've made with Millennium and the Nervine Park Dam. That's astounding that's in play.
We didn't get it yet,
No,
Bob.
but it's in play. So I had prepared comments prior to that wonderful news. So please take them with a grain of salt. Fifth, as you recall, the Nervine Park Dam removal project has some incredibly high costs that must be optimized. Opportunity there. This project needs to be delivered well under the planned umbrella budget estimates. That is unlikely to happen without collective public focus and creativity. I said you may have made progress, but you've made dramatic potential progress in reducing the cost. This is too large a project to experience overruns or even the expenditure of the contingency line item. So I'm thrilled, though. Sixth, I'm formally requesting that the AH-10 zone project be expanded to include the very small cul-de-sac property owned by the borough on Mine Avenue to optimize land use, improve emergency access, and mitigate traffic congestion. The town there will be various implications for paperwork. Seventh, and finally, in order to enhance the vitality and vibrancy of a walkable downtown core district, it is important for the borough to provide convenient public restrooms. An easement or equivalent should be carved from the AH-9 Claris project to allow the siting of a small restroom trailer. I put in details, but in deference to Carrie, I'm not going to go through that. This would optimally leverage existing utility connections for sewer, water, and power. This facility would obviate any requirement, need, floor space expense for the restrooms for retail units at the Claris AH-9 project. See my earlier statement about retail. Alternately, the town could preliminarily Bernardsville's only public restroom during their operating hours, but that location is less convenient and there is no signage. It would also make sense to offer public restrooms or porta-johns at the train station collaboratively with New Jersey Transit, since the station waiting room is closed indefinitely. It would help also
We
the,
do have a porta-john at the train station, but there's just one.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
there's two?
I think there's two.
and maybe maybe ignore that, but whatever.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bob.
Bob.
No, they're not. Johns never are, except for those fancy ones, fancy trailer ones.
We found
Oh.
self-cleaning ones. It
What?
was amazing, a self-cleaning porta.
Yeah, those are
porta-john.
really nice.
$250,000, but it was worth everything.
I skipped over unfinished or new business. Did anybody have anything to add? Or- Okay. And nobody on Zoom has a hand up? All right, then I will close the public session. And I guess we need to have a closed session. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
All in
I need to add personnel to the closed session.
No personnel, so, and we will not be coming back, right? Maybe? Oh, okay. Probably not. Yeah.